Welcome to Directly to You. It's the 153rd episode of Directly to You. It's Directly to You. It's our podcast. Who are we? We're fanatixfour. I'm AJ of fanatixfour. I'm joined by Parker of fanatixfour. So we make videos and podcasts.
Mm-hmm.
That's what we do. And tweets. We tweet. Those don't fall in the category. But anyway, you can support all the things that we do by going to youtube.com/fanatixfour or twitch.tv/fanatixfour and giving us $4.99. Or on Twitch, you can give us Jeff Bezos' money by linking your Amazon Prime to your Twitch account if you have Amazon Prime. For that, you get loyalty badges, you get emotes, you get free Switch keys from time to time. You get access to our supporters-only Discord, and you get primary access to games when I play them on Twitch. That's what we do. I play Smash Brothers. Sometimes I'm like, I'm going to open the arena, but I don't feel like opening the arena to everybody because on Twitch, there's this thing where it's like people camp the directory. They're like, man, I think I'm super good at Super Smash Brothers Ultimate, or I have like a cheesy play style on Super Smash Brothers Ultimate. So I'm going to go to twitch.tv/directory and then go to the Smash Ultimate thing and then look for people that have open arenas so I can try to meme on them or whatever. Sometimes I don't got the energy to deal with that. So I just open it up to subscribers, and that's how we do it.
That's how you do it.
Subscribers for YouTube members and for regular Twitch subscribers. You can join our Discord for the free if you go to the link in the description. It's a great time. People hang.
Guess who just redeemed their Twitch Prime for this month?
You did. I was gonna say something because you jumped in the stream and was like, "This man didn't redeem his Twitch Prime," and I was like, "Whatever."
It's harder to do it on your phone for some reason. Like it doesn't. I don't know why. Maybe
I think they don't want you to. I think
for that reason.
It's like, well, not that. It's like because subscribing through Twitch on iOS or Android, I guess. Is weird because
it gives money to
yeah.
That's true. We had that happen. Ashley got YouTube Red at some point, and then we wanted to delete it, but had to go through Apple because she got it through Apple. So there were like a couple of subscriptions that we had to delete through Apple instead of, and that was like kind of a pain. So that makes sense. But yeah, so there's been a couple of times that I've popped on and I'm like on my phone. I'm like, I don't know how to do this. I'm gonna wait till I get on my computer and then I forget. So don't be like me. Remember to use
don't forget, man.
Even if not for us, for somebody, for somebody. Like, that's just free money sitting around.
Jeff Bezos has too much money.
He does.
Give it to a Twitch streamer of your choice.
He has at least 1 times too much money. At least. Even if you're like hyper capitalist, he has at least 1 times too much money. You play any games?
He has at least 1,000% more money than he should. No.
Agreed.
But yes, I am playing video games. I'm playing video games on twitch.tv/fanatixfour. This week, I played Pokemon and Super Smash Brothers. And by the time you're watching and or listening to this, I played Monster Hunter Rise, but right now I have not. Ian was like I was watching his stream because he got the Japanese game, so he was like playing it earlier.
Oh yeah, for sure.
He was like, I love this game. I'm so excited. Blah blah.
Is he playing it in Japanese then as well?
I think
Japanese,
the
right?
menu stuff. Yeah.
Okay.
His menu and stuff was in English, so I assume he's playing it in English. Yeah. I don't know if there's like English voice acting in the English.
I don't know.
Game. Yeah, but there's Japanese voice acting. That's why I'm like, I don't know. I'll enjoy. But yeah, he was playing the game. He was like, you guys got to play through the tutorial because we're streaming it with Bob and Ian. And he's like, you guys got to play through the tutorial before you play it on stream. And me and Bob were like, nah, I don't think I will do that. So we're going to play through the tutorial. And then whenever it lets you play multiplayer, that's when we're going to do that.
Yeah.
Shall be fun. But also I've been playing Pokemon. I played the Nuzlocke. I freaking lost a Pokemon. I lost 3 Pokemon last time. One of them was Nicolas Cage. I didn't really care about him. He's a Meowth, a Galarian Meowth. The other Pokemon, who was the other Pokemon? I don't remember who the other Pokemon is. And then I lost freaking I don't remember the last one either. I forgot. I forgot all 3 of the Pokemon that I lost, except for Nicolas Cage, who I cared about the least, I think. But that's what happened. One of the Pokemon, the last Pokemon I lost, I didn't even see it happen. I just realized after the fact that it said fainted, and I was like, "Oh shoot, how did that happen?" And now I'm at like the point of the game where I didn't put 2 and 2 together when I was playing through in the first run, but in this run, it makes sense that I'm not very, but like enough under leveled because I don't grind and I don't use the wild area. And that's how the game is designed, where it's like, oh, here's the wild area. We know you're going to like, catch Pokemon and battle a little bit while you're in here because you're going to want to explore and stuff. I didn't do any of that. I just got in and I left. So it's like I come out and I'm like, I'm back into the world. And there's like level 35 Pokemon. My Pokemon are like 29. Like my highest level Pokemon is like 29, I think. So I gotta grind, but I can't do it in the wild area as per my rules. So gotta figure that out.
Yeah, no, that's definitely a thing. I mean, those games.
Pokemon's easy, dude. It's all like it's way too easy. It's not. It's not a case of them giving you enough rope to hang yourself or anything like that. You're not the one making it easy for yourself. It's obviously Game Freak's fault.
I mean, that's just like RPGs in general. Because I'm playing Bravely Default 2. I'm at about 22 hours in, Jesus. And take a wild guess as to what chapter I just arrived at.
Chapter
2.
1. I was going to say 2 first. But
no, I mean, chapter 1 started, like, I was probably 6 or so hours in, and then it was like, chapter 1. I was like, seriously, though? Like, okay. And then, I just last night, I was like, I'm going to save real quick. I'm just going to get to this next spot right here. And then as I started doing that, it played like 3 cutscenes. They were pretty short cutscenes. That is one thing. This game's pretty good about respecting your time in that regard, as opposed to like Xenoblade Chronicles.
22 hours in. I don't know. I don't know if I agree with that.
Which is like, again, it's entirely optional as far as like I like going all the places, and it's fun because it's not random encounters. It's like more like Pokemon or whatever. But if you are higher leveled than monsters in the overworld, they'll run away from you, and if you're under leveled, then they'll run towards you and attack you.
So it's like,
and you can like gain advantage by hitting them first. Yeah, exactly. So that kind of thing, which I'm a big fan of that, because that means that it's just fun to go into an area and be like, there's big scary things that are all trying.
It's fun.
It's just fun to see like a giant, a humongous monster that's attacking you at some point, and then a little bit later you're a tiny little guy and he sees you and just like, there's a phrase for that, turns tail and runs away. It's a good old time. But I'm having a great time with it. I'm trying to get all the jobs unlocked for at least somebody, and it's fun. That's all.
Nice.
The end. Bravely Default. And I also nice. I was just gonna say, I got Monster Hunter Rise. Have not started playing it yet. I just bought it and we'll play it shortly.
I downloaded it yesterday at like a little after midnight, because I remember I downloaded it. I downloaded it because I saw people complaining that they couldn't play it at midnight. And I was like, whatever, I don't care. I have no desire to play this at midnight anyway. But I remembered I got to play this game tomorrow anyway, so I might as well download it now while I'm thinking about it.
Yep.
So I did that, but I was going to say I played more Pokemon with Sierra on stream yesterday, and I caught a shiny Palkia.
Nice.
And I was talking about, I was like, because the first couple of times when the Dynamax Adventures came out, like every stream, it averaged out to me catching a shiny. Because it was like one stream I caught the shiny. The first Pokemon I ever, like my first batch of Pokemon that I caught in Dynamax Adventures, one of them was a shiny. And I was like, is that supposed to happen? Does everybody get that? So then that happened, and then the stream after that, I don't think I caught a shiny, but the stream after that, I caught 2. So it was like I got the streamer buff on all of them, on so many different Dynamax Adventures. And it's crazy because it didn't really happen that much to anybody else that I know of. That's why I felt bad after the Bisharp. I was like, oh shoot, I thought that this was just a thing everybody had. But I was talking about that. I was talking about it like while we were like looking through our Pokemon, or a little bit before, I think, where I was like, man, I had so much luck in this game before when I used to stream the Dynamax Adventures. But I haven't streamed them in a while, and I think my luck is gone. And then immediately after that, I was looking through the Pokemon, and I was like, oh my God, look at my stream. And then I named it Pog to make Lee mad. Because he doesn't like me nicknaming legendaries. So I had to give it an obnoxious nickname.
And that's pretty obnoxious, all things considered. So I mean, I'm down.
It's true. Also, Lee is convinced that I'm trying to keep you two apart for some reason.
It's true, Lee.
He's going to be on the podcast next week.
Nice.
No, see the secret is Parker just doesn't want to meet you because Parker last second was like, can't be on the podcast. No, to be fair, it was for a totally legitimate reason.
This is true.
The universe doesn't want you two to meet.
There you go. Something like that. So maybe just knows how great it'll be.
How powerful. Lee's convinced that he's going to steal you from me or vice versa. I don't know. And I'm like, whatever, dude. Like, whatever. I'm definitely not like that type of person.
Yeah,
I'm like,
right.
Friends meet friends. You know, like the second it makes sense.
Yeah.
But expect that. We got Lee on the podcast again. We're gonna have Max on the podcast again next week to talk about the Monster Hunter game. I don't know if Lee's playing it though.
Yeah. Oh yeah,
but on this week's podcast, we're talking about, I don't know,
some stuff. Also, at some point, I think we're gonna Ashley noticed that It Takes Two comes out on Xbox today. But we only have one controller, so I'm probably gonna have to go to the store and buy probably just like because we're not gonna play barely any games multiplayer on the Xbox. So I'll probably just get like a knockoff third party. She can play the first party one, then I'll play the third party controller because I don't care that much.
Just get like one of the sick ones, dude.
like Elite,
get the Sonic
Pro.
One. No, get like because they have so many different like color ways on the Xbox controllers. It's like you're gonna get another controller, get one that's sick. Don't make me do it because I'll do it.
There would be no content reason though at all for Xbox games. But in any case, we're probably gonna try to play that game. So that would be fun. But yeah, so that's what we're playing. But you know what? We're not going to be playing as of Thursday of next week anything with Mario.
It's true. Mario's going to get murdered. They warned us with Sephiroth. But this time it's true. This time it's for real.
It's for real. So yeah, there's this. Nintendo keeps doubling down. I mean, they're going to keep the same messaging probably up until it happens. And then eventually we'll find out what happens. But that's part of what we're going to talk about today.
I want? You know what I want? I want them to do like a freaking a new Smash Brothers reveal on the 31st. And I want them to like replay the Sephiroth sequence where he's like getting ready to kill Mario.
But he's really dead.
No, wait. I'm going to get there. And then it's like the same thing. And then Mario's like, it goes through the whole thing where he's like, oh, shoot, I'm not dead. But then behind Sephiroth, a freaking, like, I don't know, like Impa comes behind Sephiroth, freaking maims this man, and then murders Mario. Because it's like, it's my turn. It's my anniversary, dude. That's what I want. I want it to be that. And then everybody would be fine. Everybody would be happy about it. They're like, it's okay that Mario's dead. Because we got Impa and Smash Brothers, and now it's Zelda's anniversary.
That's true. Yeah.
You heard it here first.
You heard it here first.
So when it happens, you know where to go.
The news bit related to this, which isn't a ton, is Nintendo did confirm. Oh, I thought I put a link to that somewhere, but I must have put it somewhere else. They confirmed that you will still be able to use download codes for 3D All-Stars after March 31st. But it sounds like it's pretty much just like a physical edition kind of a thing where just any download like codes that are there, they'll sell out of those and then you'll still be able to use those. So like it almost sounded like they were changing their minds, but it wasn't. So it's just the same thing, but like pretty much the idea is like if you buy the game somewhere, you will continue to have access to the game as long as you've bought it by the date. But
so in other words, it's like literally any other game.
Yes, pretty much. So yeah, that all the things that are going away are Super Mario Bros. 35. That's the only one that's like really gonna just straight up go away
that
and
one
play.
I would never be surprised if they just yeeted that and it was like, all right, that's just going.
Yeah. And then 3D All Stars won't be on the digital store anymore, from what we know. And then they won't print any more physical copies or digital download codes, but they'll sell out of whatever's there. And what else? the limited edition Game and Watch, the Mario Game and Watches or whatever, those same kind of thing. They'll end up just going away. And Fire Emblem, because Fire Emblem, is also going away. But I did buy that one last week, so I've got it.
I debated.
Don't know when I'm ever going to play it, but wanted to buy.
I'm not like, what's the point? What's the point?
I saw one in stores at some point, and I was like, I could, but there's literally no use for it for me. So it would just be to be like, look, I have it, in the same way that like I bought the Mario cereal, and I have one or two of the Mario cereal. I think I got rid of one of them, but I have one of the Mario cereal boxes, and I'm like, I'm not going to show this to my kids, like that's not one of those kinds of things. So I don't know. I'm just not a collector. That's not really my vibe.
Especially if it's like the closest recently that I got to, like, and I might still do it. I don't know who knows, dude. To buying collectors things is those the Pokeballs, the Wand Company, I think it's called, or something like that. It's the Pokeball, and then they have a Master Ball. I might buy those. And then it's the freaking Charizard, because he lights up, dude. Like, that's sick.
I don't know what things you're talking about. I mean, is it just like Pokeballs that just look like Pokeballs?
They're like Pokeball replicas, and they're like encased.
Oh, I did see those. They look real good.
Hold on, let me see if I can find the Charizard figure.
Yep.
Charizard.
I mean, Charizard always looks good,
It's true.
I remember being
I didn't care. I didn't care at all until it said in the replies that it was like, it lights up, and I was like, oh shoot, that would look dope on camera. I was like that was literally the thing.
Because what is that behind you? Is that just a Charizard amiibo, a regular one?
It's just a Charizard amiibo. Who cares about that? And that's only there because I was playing Smash Brothers in the arena. They had amiibos, and I was like, yo, I have an amiibo. Or I have amiibos. I still gotta find the rest of them. Where the heck is this figure at?
They made was there a Pokemon trainer specific amiibo as well? Because I know there was a Squirtle one.
I have all of them. There's a Pokemon, I think I've got Squirtle trainer, and there's Charizard, there's Squirtle, and there's Ivysaur. I have all four.
Nice.
I don't know which one's the best trained one though.
That is a fun. Does anybody like spend all their time doing, not all their time, but like really get into training amiibos and stuff? Like that was more of a Smash 4 thing, right?
Yeah.
And even then, like,
it was like it was like, really man, like nobody really does that.
Yeah.
Here it is. I found it. Hold on. Let me share my screen.
I'm ready to see this.
Share screen. There it is. This. And the freaking fire and stuff lights up, dude.
Oh, that looks cool. What's the base of it? Okay, I see. Yeah. That's pretty nice. Is it an amiibo or just a figure? And
it's
like, how
a figure.
Big is that?
It's a 12-inch figure.
Wow. Yeah.
And it's $250.
Oh, man.
But still, though, maybe, who knows, man? Who knows?
Looks good.
I might have to do that.
Yeah. So, okay, back on topic, I guess. So Mario's dying, blah, 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 et cetera, et cetera. The two questions on the Mario side. What are our like actual guesses as far as
the other thing that I did want to bring up while we were like summarizing all this stuff about Mario dying and stuff like that.
Right.
Tweet to me does not say that the All-Stars collection, like as it exists, will die, but it still doesn't definitively say to me that the games are going
to enjoy this 3-in-1. Yeah, so it says don't miss your chance to commemorate Super Mario 35 with Super Mario 3D All-Stars. Super jump on the opportunity to grab it before 331 and enjoy this, or in Europe 31.3, and enjoy this 3-in-1 all-star package. Yeah, I totally agree that.
Yeah, like why would you put that there? Yeah. Like I don't think that you need to add that if you're like these games are dead. It's like if you want to play these classic games, grab them. But like them specifically being like it's 3 games in 1, you better pick it up. To me reads like these games aren't going anywhere, but the collection itself is
100%. I think the as a initial
Or the games
sale,
the games might go away, but then they might
they're
say,
going to come
"Hey,
back at some point.
yeah, exactly." Like they release them individually.
I could
And
definitely see that happening where like I think these games will all be accessible at some point again. But I would be more surprised if they were accessible immediately than if they took a break. Like that's what I more anticipate, is that they go away for 6 months or whatever. But yeah, I think that saying the 3-in-1 package thing is either something that you say like as a sales pitch for it in the first place, which they did, and that's fun and all, or but when you're saying this, like, don't miss out on this, then it's more like, don't miss out on this sale of this game, like it's 20% off, don't miss out on 20% off, as opposed to being like,
don't miss out on
don't
this
never play this game,
unique opportunity that you'll never see again.
Exactly. Yeah, so that's it. I think, like you said though, Super Mario 35,
that one's gone. It always seemed like a limited thing to me, and it didn't even seem like honestly, if they were just like, hey, here's this cool neat thing that we're doing for a month, I wouldn't have been surprised. Like it's like whatever. Like I know people have fun doing it, but I don't know anybody that actively play, like even Bob, who used to like, that was like one of his mainstream games. I don't see play this anymore. He plays Mario Maker more than he plays this.
I mean,
so it's like
I could see it be like a Disney Vault sort of thing, where at this point they've got the game, they made it, it's there, and then they'll just at some point they could pull it back out for another, like,
it's Mario
like a Splatfest kind of thing, where it's like, we're gonna do it for like the next week, you can play this game again, and then it's going back away, like something like that. I could definitely see happening. So then the non-Mario side of that is, does this mean, do we expect that on April 1st, the other anniversary is just going to like start up immediately? I don't think so. I think it's going to take a while.
I don't think so. I think we're going to, at the earliest, I think we'll see stuff in like May, June. Yeah. Because we already got like the first half of the year rollout. So I think like as stuff starts to come out in that, like, like once we get like the Skyward Sword Joy-Con and all that stuff, then they'll be like, all right, here's more stuff from like either the second half of the year, like the next quarter, and a little bit further out than that sort of thing. Then we'll start to see stuff. We might get like an announcement, in April of something like that, like maybe something like to coincide with like Pokemon Snap. They're like, and here's this other Pokemon thing that we're doing. I could see them doing that, but even that's not really a Nintendo thing,
right? Yeah, no, I totally agree, and especially like the fact that Mario is Nintendo's biggest, property, and his celebration lasted for 6 months. Although, granted, probably they would have wanted it to last longer than that.
It's supposed to last all the way throughout 2020.
Yeah, but like even then, so I definitely expect that it's like using Skyward Sword as kind of the launch pad, not when it comes out, but when the next round of information comes out for it, which, like you said, I'd expect that to be early June-ish, like kind of E3 sort of time. And that's when they kick off the, like the Zelda anniversary. And I mean, there's other anniversaries. And they had the Fire Emblem anniversary stuff and, Game & Watch sort of, and Mario at the
like
same
pretty
time.
much every major anniversary, excluding Mother, got something,
Yeah. So I wouldn't be surprised if they, were okay with, like, part of me is like, well, do they want to do this one for 3 months and this one for whatever? But like, no, I think they'll probably just do them in tandem, just to differing degrees and with different kind of emphasis on stuff. But with Zelda being obviously the main one, but probably not till a couple months in. So yeah, Mario's gonna die, but along with his death comes new life.
25 or something like that.
Only
according to Nintendo.
Yeah, as he dies out of the ground, come Pikmin. Little Pikmin are going to be running alongside us.
Pikmin Go confirmed, dude. Who had that on their bingo card?
Yeah, no kidding.
Did.
What a thing, Yeah, of all the,
Yo, you're not
Me
gonna
too, for
freaking
sure.
dart down the street when they're like, yo, a raid boss, it's a winged pink Pikmin. Everybody go get it. You're not gonna be excited for that, dude.
Of course. No,
The
so yeah,
most
what do you
hype.
actually like? I've got some guesses because I was thinking about making a Pikmin Go type video this week and I didn't. But I don't know. Yeah, as far as this game by itself, do you have any thoughts or guesses as to what it is or what they're
I
going to do
think
with it or whatever?
I think it's highly unlikely that it's not. I mean, it might not be called Pikmin Go, but I would be
Mm-hmm.
shocked if it's not Pikmin Go. Because what else
Mm-hmm.
does Niantic even do? You know, like all
Yeah.
their games are some variation of this
Mm-hmm.
of Pokemon Go, the freaking
Yeah.
nerd stuff, Harry Potter thing. What is it? Ingress.
Ingress. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
They're all the same game, but with different set dressing.
Uh-huh.
And like they're not going to reinvent the wheel for freaking Pikmin. Of all things, Pikmin is going to be the thing that's like, oh, Niantic learned how to make a new kind of game.
I don't know.
Like,
So for me, I feel like, okay, they're not going to reinvent the wheel. I agree with that. I do wonder if it's going to be more different than the Harry Potter and, well, Ingress was the original, but you know, that whole thing. In
not as
that,
far as popular opinion goes.
so the thing that I wonder with this is like Pikmin just doesn't have the same breadth to collect. I mean, there are things to collect, like off the top of my head, different kinds of Pikmin or different amount of Pikmin, I guess, if that's a thing. Like if it's less about the diversity and more about the, you know, like I've got 500 red Pikmin and that's helpful for this reason or that reason. Maybe that's a thing.
Yeah.
Or it's like you get more Pikmin and then you go, instead of collecting enemy or collecting things, you go and like there's a Bulborb over there and I'm going to go defeat that Bulborb. Is that what it's called? Pretty sure.
Yeah. Yep.
Bulborb. I got it right. So maybe something like that, or some could be even simpler, where it's like it does talk a decent amount about walking. Like their tweet says, "What would it be like to have more what would it be like to have a more fun walking experience surrounded by Pikmin in a new mobile app? Blah blah blah. Pikmin friends." Explore the real world and create memories with your Pikmin friends. So I wonder if it's something where like it's less maybe of a game and more of a companion app where the further you walk, the more Pikmin there like join you on your walk and they like collect fruits and strawberries and stuff, and like every once in a while you can attack
but
things.
I could also see
like
it being like, I could see them doing like raids where it's like,
yeah,
it's a giant Bulborb. How many Pikmin do you want to commit to this?
Uh-huh.
There's a chance that most of them will die. You know, like that sort of thing. Like I could.
And then you have to get more Pikmin
like,
to be able to. No, I could definitely see that. And honestly, that would be a fun way to expand a little bit of lore in a similar way.
It could be like they could do the gyms thing where it's like, oh, here's this like monument of some sort redecorated in your team's likeness, and then you commit Pikmin to that, and then other people like they say, no, I'm not down with that, here's more Pikmin, and then they fight your Pikmin to keep it the design of the thing that they want it to be or whatever, to stand in for the Mystic and freaking Valor and whatever the other one is that doesn't matter.
Instinct. Yeah. No, that makes sense. I could definitely see that. And like, so I was thinking even too with, so think Mario Kart Tour, and that there's but like Rosalina appeared as a racer in Mario Kart Tour for the first time. Like she didn't exist in Mario Kart Tour for the first time, but I could see ideally, like if they could expand a little bit of lore through the mobile app, where like there's, for the first time ever, there's a Super Bulborb or whatever, you know, something where it's like just little bits of addition that can then make their way back into the games and be kind of a new thing that parallels alongside that. But I mean, the better thing about this, even besides it just being a game, is that for Pikmin fans, this means Pikmin ideally they like wanna, I mean, they've always wanted to leverage that. You know, Miyamoto was like, it's going to be bigger than Mario.
Yeah.
And it's so much bigger than Mario.
It is. They're not dying.
True. I mean, the Pikmin are, but Olimar isn't, you know. The Pikmin die all the time.
Not them collectively, dude.
That's true. Where
Them
one
together is
dies.
stronger than Mario alone. Because Mario's dead. Mario freaking 1985 to 2021.
Yep.
Pikmin
By the
forever.
hand of Sephiroth and Pikmin.
It's true. No, Impa, dude.
You're
Impa's
so right.
murdering him.
It is. She is. I don't know why. But yeah,
I don't
so
know.
the other part of that,
I already explained it to you because she was like,
know.
nah, Sephiroth, you're not killing Mario. That's my job. And then she murders them both. That's what
Indeed.
happened.
I felt like there was a press release. I thought it said it in the Nintendo tweet, but I guess it doesn't. Didn't they mention somewhere that they were partnering with Niantic to do more things than just this?
I don't know. I don't think so.
Huh. I thought so for some reason, but
if it was anywhere, it was in the tweet that I retweeted because everybody retweeted like Nintendo of America's tweet. I saw their like
the Niantic Labs one.
They're like corporate account, like where they talk about like their investments and all that stuff. They posted.
Oh yeah. Okay, so here, this is an article from The Verge. Said blah 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 blah. Niantic didn't say what other games it will be making with Nintendo, so I must have missed somewhere above here where they didn't say what other games they'll be making with Nintendo, but it sounds like the two companies have secured some kind of long-term partnership. In quotes, "We're honored that Nintendo has chosen Niantic to be its publisher of real-world AR applications," Niantic said. "More details about upcoming apps will be revealed in the coming months."
Oh, they did, and it says in this press release that they did on their like corporate account, that this is Niantic Tokyo. They're Niantic Tokyo Studios first.
Interesting.
So. Who knows? Maybe it will be different somehow.
Yeah, I mean, the other thing, because especially if they're doing more of them, they've got to make, if they're all going to be, because they said in that it's, AR games specifically, and they can't just make them all be copies of Pokemon Go. Like I could see them making Pikmin. If Pikmin was the only one, I could see them making it just a copy of Pokemon Go, but for Pikmin instead, for whatever reason, just because people are like, I'm sick of catching Pokemon, but I want to do something else like it, I guess. But if they're doing more of those, then they've got to make it different. And like, I don't specifically have the ideas for the other ones.
Yeah, me personally, I'll try this for a week to report back on the podcast and probably never touch it again because I can only do one of these.
Yeah. And that's okay. So the other thing I was going to talk about,
even like I'm not freaking walking around and it's like, oh man, I gotta open this app. All right, I took another step. All right, I gotta open this app. I'm all right. I'm at this place. Better open all the apps and do all of the raids on all the separate apps. It's like I'm not trying to do that.
The nice thing for me is if I were to do this, because the way I play Pokemon Go, I don't walk with it. Like that's just not a part of the process. I don't go out for walks, but I would like to go out for walks and have reasons to. And so, maybe I'll just try the other way around where like once the Pikmin game comes out, ideally before that, but I'll just like start to go on walks anyway, and then, kind of see what happens, and use the Pikmin app as like a companion for that. So then at that point, Pokemon Go is a stationary game. Pikmin is a mobile game in a very literal sense.
I get it.
Yeah. But the thing that you talked about last week, as far as like, every once in a while, just like chucking a couple bucks at Pokemon Go, that is one thing that like, I hope that they take the Pokemon Go approach to monetization with this rather than, which I assume they will, rather than the Dr. Mario Kart Tour kind of thing, because like those are,
because somebody said something about hoping that this is going to be like a $3 game or something like that, and I'm like, I don't know about that, Chief.
And like, I don't know, maybe there's people that have a problem with the way Pokemon Go is monetized. I don't know. I can't, like, at least the way that I've played it, the only times that I feel like a certain need to spend money or whatever are like literally just upgrading my bag. Like that's the only thing that I could, but I just don't, because I don't care that much.
I think the amount of time that you need to put time, effort, all of the above that you need to put into Pokemon Go for it to force you, or not force you, but feel like a necessity to put money into it, it's worth putting money into it.
Yeah, right.
And it's like it's $10 at the most, you know, if you're like trying to like I did, where it's like, here's $10, don't talk to me again for like another 9 months at least. Like, and at that point it's like $10 a year is not bad.
Yeah, for sure.
Especially since it's like something you don't have to do, like Pokemon Go. It's like you could play it that much or not that much, and then you never had to put money into it.
Yeah. But it's like, I think the nice thing with Pokemon Go and its monetization is that I can't necessarily see a difference between me and somebody else who puts in a ton of money into the game. If I put in a lot of time into the game and just like go around places, then like, I don't know, it doesn't feel that different versus somebody in like Mario Kart Tour or Clash of Clans or whatever, where it's just like, oh no, you put a lot of money into the game and that's why you've got the best cars and you've got the best, you know what, like loot boxes and all that kind of stuff, like is definitely more gross. Whereas it's in Pokemon Go, I feel like 100% of the money you spend is either for, you can buy some cosmetics if you want to, but I don't know. Yeah, I don't know that anybody does. Or everything else is just convenience money, you know, because you don't have any Pokeballs. You don't feel like going somewhere where there's a Pokestop. So you're going to buy some Pokeballs, that kind of a thing. And I think convenience money is a good, less predatory, option as far as pricing goes. So hopefully that ends up being the same thing here, and hopefully it gets people into Pikmin, so the Pikmin 4 can come out and everybody can be happy. Yep.
That was like another sentiment I was seeing a lot with this, where it's like people being like, oh, this is coming out, I guess this is Pikmin 4. It's like, no, you idiot. Like, this coming out almost guarantees we're going to see a Pikmin 4. Yeah. Like, if they care enough to do this, they're going to do a Pikmin 4.
Yeah, for sure. Man, that's really funny. I didn't see anybody say that, but that's a bad take if so. Yeah, so there it is, Pikmin. And moving on. Are we going to see new Joy-Cons coming out? Maybe. Here's the patent.
I didn't see anything about this.
I didn't either. I obviously did. I saw somebody post this somewhere and I was like, oh, this is interesting. There's not enough information here for me to go off of and talk about. I'll share my screen real quick and show what it looks like to the people. But also patents are very rarely what they look like in the end, you know? So so here's a patent, and I don't know what specifically is being patented here. I assume it's just the fact that it's a left Joy-Con, or does it have both of them below?
It has the D-pad.
It's just it's just a left Joy-Con. And it's got a D-pad and a joystick and 2 buttons. So I'm guessing that because all these things, they make them look different anyway. I'm guessing there's 2 buttons. Actually, probably one of them would be the capture button, and then the other one is, they didn't put a minus button up there at the top, but there would just be a minus button, and those are to represent 2 buttons. So, so that's cool. It's got a D-pad up top and then a joystick down below it, so it's more like a PS4 controller in that regard, or like the DualShock or whatever, in that you would have both of the joysticks lower and have a D-pad up top. Neato. That's the whole thing. You don't like it?
Yeah, I hate the PlayStation 4's analog stick placement. I hate it. And it's one of the reasons why I don't like, or PlayStation 4 and all PlayStation ones, I guess. I don't like the placement. I think the placement is stupid for most video games. And it's, I mean, it makes sense for like the type of games that a lot of people play on PlayStation, where it's like, it's my JRPG machine or whatever. Like, It makes sense for that because in those games you're not like actively using both for any real reason. So like having your like it makes more sense. But for the type of games that I play, I want offset. Like and I just think that offset is just more generally applicable.
I could definitely. What's the DualSense like in that regard?
DualSense
it's better, right?
They're both down on the bottom.
I mean, they're both down on the bottom, but is at least offset better? No, it's not. I'm looking.
The only thing that's different on the DualSense is that like its shape, I think, is more ergonomic.
Right.
Like that's pretty much it with that.
Man. Huh. There you go.
It's very stupid. Like I think they're just maintaining that like for the sake of being different. And it's like, nah, man, Xbox had it right. Just freaking copy them. Like,
yeah. But they're not going to. You know, they're going to stick with their thing. Just like Sakurai is sticking with Kid Icarus. No, no. That's not a real transition. Sakurai tweeted a tweet that said Kid Icarus in it.
He surely did.
So we're talking about that briefly. He tweeted, 2012 Kid Icarus Uprising released today, as in like it's its anniversary, I guess. We've received many requests for sequels and remakes, but it will be difficult. The new design of the pit is a spin-off of the one we made with Smash Bros. X. I'm guessing that's Brawl? Smash Bros. X?
Yeah, he's talking about Brawl.
Okay. Is that what they call it in Japan? Smash Bros. X? I'm looking it up. Smash Bros. X. No, I don't know. Okay. No answers.
Looked up Smash Bros. Brawl. That probably would have gave you a
Brawl Japanese name. Yeah. Smash Brothers X. Maybe. Maybe not.
Stupid name.
I'm not getting a conclusive answer. Somewhere it looked like yes, in other places I can't tell.
Smash Bros. Brawl Wiki. They usually have all the names listed.
Okay, yeah, it's Great Fray Smash Brothers X. In Japanese is what it means. Okay, cool. So yeah, that's just a small thing, but I don't know. And I don't think this specifically means anything. We can't read into this one way or another, but it's just interesting that Sakurai, mentioned it because we always.
Yeah, like this doesn't say one way or the. It's another one of those like statements that people will pull whatever they think will be the case out of it. Where he's like, or they're like, he said it would be very difficult, therefore impossible. But also like he said it would be very difficult, therefore they're working on it and it's hard right now. It's pretty, like you can literally pull whatever meaning out of that you want.
I mean, obviously, really, it was just that because he posted a picture along with this because he always posts pictures, screenshots and stuff that he likes to make. And obviously, he was like, "Oh, I want to do a Kid Icarus one because it came out 9 years ago today."
Yeah,
and he was like, "I gotta say something about it." Like, got to mention the fact that, and this just happens to be the only game that has the anniversary that he has, some amount of a say in because he's the one that made it. So this to me reads very much like the. We can't talk more about Breath of the Wild 2, blah, 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 kind of a thing where it's like, you're just saying it, not because I'm saying this is coming out, but because people are going to ask about it if he just posted the picture. So it's just this way it becomes a non-topic. But we're talking about it anyway, because non-topics are sometimes fun. Just like
give it to me. I disagree with Sakurai. I don't understand how it would be difficult in literally any way. Like that feels like the easiest follow-up to do. Even if it's not a follow-up, if they literally just ported the game, it's the easiest one. They'd be like, here it is, and it's better than the original was because it's up-res and the control setup does not suck. Period. Like there you go. And it's not even a control set. Like I could understand it if it was like the other way around. Like if Kid Icarus Uprising started as like a dual analog situation and they were adapting it to 3DS, I could see them saying like, this is difficult. Like I don't understand how we can do this ergonomically and it still be fun and blah, 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 blah. But moving it the other way to something that more buttons, suited better ergonomically is like, that's a no-brainer. That's easy.
Yeah, because before
figure out the like, not to speak to how easy it is to like do the literal ones and zeros, like not that, but figuring out, okay, this is the control layout. Like that, there's so many games that you could pull from for that have already figured that out.
Yeah. The like Skyward Sword can never come over kind of part of the conversation.
That sort of situation. Yep. And that's where like I think that a lot of people, they're pulling that from what they want from it, right? Where it's like those are the people that's like, it's impossible to make Mario Maker without a stylus. You know?
Yeah.
This is just giving them more fuel. It's like, see, developers said that it's hard, so therefore it's impossible.
True. Yeah. So it's impossible for that to come out, but it's not impossible that we will get rumors for the Switch Pro every single week.
Yeah, that's likely.
Until
guaranteed
until it happens.
Yeah, because we've been getting Switch Pro rumors since we knew what the Switch was. People saw Switch and they were like, "Oh, this doesn't look like PlayStation 4." So that means we're going to get a Pro that looks like PlayStation 4. And now that PlayStation 5 comes out, guess what? Once we do get a Pro, there's going to be like, "Oh, there's going to be a Pro Plus." Like, people always are going to want more until we have the same exact console from all console manufacturers.
And it's going to be really boring.
Exactly.
Which, I mean, I'm just glad that Nintendo didn't do that, because honestly, like, I think even if the Switch was, you know, a PS4 clone or whatever, I would have bought it for Breath of the Wild. But I think likely I would have played that game and then just started to fall off more and more, because I just don't play just on the TV that much. That's just like the fact that it is a hybrid is like a huge portion of why.
Yeah, there's so many games that, like,
you know,
and I would still play it because Smash Brothers would be on it, Pokemon would be on it, blah blah blah.
Right.
But it wouldn't be like, I wouldn't play nearly as many games as I play if it weren't for it being a hybrid. Because there's so many games that I wouldn't play on the TV that's like, I could just play this while I'm laying down or whatever, right?
Yeah.
So I'm glad that they didn't do that, and I hope that they don't do that in the future. And it seems like they're not doing it with the Pro, given the continued rumors that are actually not all that different from the rumors that we've been seeing.
Oh, 100%.
This point.
Yeah. I'm guessing this is just an update that they were like, more people have agreed with us. We'll just say it again. But the new Switch, they've said release. The rumors are released later this year. 720p OLED screen, DLSS equipped, better CPU, more memory, with a lot of games, it says. And analysts tip as much as $400 price tag. That doesn't feel like that should even be in, like, rereading this now, I don't feel like that should be in the same line item list, because the rest of them is like, this is what I've heard is like a 7-inch screen. That one definitely feels like analysts based on the rest are guessing
exactly
$400.
It's like all this other stuff, given the like where it seems to be coming from, like an inside source from Nintendo or people manufacturing it or whatever. It's like, here are box item facts, you know? And then this last one is like, analysts think that the next thing will probably be this. They don't actually know what the console is or looks like, but they think if they're going to follow up the Switch, then it should probably be around this price point. And it could be, I don't know. What's like the absolute most that you could see yourself paying for a Switch Pro?
Myself, I mean, honestly, I'd be hesitant unless there were exclusive games, which we'll get into later. Unless there were exclusive games, if it's $400, I would be like, all right, fine. And I'd probably still get it around when it came out, as long as
is there any price any reasonable price, not like $1,000, because obviously that's not going to happen. But like 600. Would you pay 600 for a Switch Pro, or would you be like, nah?
I mean, the question is, are there exclusive games to it? Because if not, no. If there are exclusive games, I would wait until that game came out. I would like have a savings account set up to like put some money aside and stuff, like, you know, I'd work it out to make it happen, especially because content and all that stuff. But I would feel like that was a terrible business move, obviously. That's
I think that depending on what it is. If this is literally the Switch Pro or whatever, it's like it's a higher resolution. I mean, matter of fact, it's not even high. It's the same resolution screen. It's slightly bigger. It has an OLED screen, which that's an upgrade. It's DLSS, which whatever.
Yeah, right.
Like
That's, I mean,
better
miles may
CPU,
vary
more
on
memory.
that, to be
That
honest.
doesn't exactly. Yeah, the better CPU, more memory. That doesn't mean anything. You know,
Right.
like a better CPU could be like it could literally just be like the new Switch with the battery upgrade. More memory could be like 100 megabytes more memory. You know, like more memory does not actually mean anything.
Right.
But
And
they
the
were
fact
like,
that
oh,
flash
it's
memory
8
now,
gigabytes of DDR4 or 5 or 6 memory or whatever, right? Then I would be like, okay, yeah, that makes more sense. And if the CPU, like the CPU was 2 times faster, then I'm like, okay, yeah, then we can put like a number to this. But better CPU doesn't mean anything. More memory doesn't really mean anything either.
Yeah,
especially with the aforementioned thing like DLSS equipped, it would need to have a better CPU and I'd assume more memory.
Yeah, right, exactly. I think the thing with this is like, I can't unless we see it, and then like, so based on this stuff, I would be surprised if it was $400 personally. I mean, not that
I wouldn't be.
I'm not.
I wouldn't be surprised to see them, regardless of like how like impactful this is.
Yeah.
Visually and like what we can see to naked eye, like, oh, this looks significantly better or it looks the same, blah blah, just all that stuff on paper and being a fact, you know, where it's like factually, if you take a screenshot of your game while docked, it is 4K in resolution. That's how many pixels are on the screen. You know, them being able to say that, I think, is enough for them to call it a Switch Pro, Switch 4K, Super Switch, and that branding alone, I think, is enough for them to charge $100 more. It really doesn't. It's not material cost. It's nothing like that. It's just the fact that they're able to say, you know, that hot item that everybody's buying and has regularly gone out of stock at full price 4 years after it came out, we have an even better one of that. It's still not dropping in price. And the fact, because this one is better than the one that has not dropped in price, we're adding $100 more to it. You know, like I could easily see them doing that. And I think that it would still sell very well if they did that. But
I think the thing to me is like, all of those things that it talks about, I think would need to deliver well, which I mean, I would assume that it would, but like that, because I just with the DLSS thing, we also just, you know, it's hard to know at this point what all that'll mean, like how many games that'll actually apply for or whatever, because like otherwise, it's, you know, say it applies for 10% of games and those games like look 4K and look like real good. The other 90% of games, or even if we're generous or less, if we're more generous, it's like 50% of them just, it doesn't do anything. Then the only benefit they'll get is from the better CPU and more memory and stuff, which is like cool. But I don't know how much of a boost those would end up having. And then the, you know, 720p OLED screen will look better and it's bigger and stuff. So like, all those things are definitely things that could charge more, but it's a question of like how it's, the same exact things on paper could be enabled, or what's the word I'm looking for? Could be done well or poorly, and therefore justify the price better or worse for sure.
Yeah. I think worst case scenario, it's going to be new 3DS, where it's like games download a little bit faster and like that sort of thing. And I think like for new 3DS, it was about $50 more for that upgrade. For Switch, already being marginally more expensive, I could see that worst case scenario still being $400. Or if they want to be, you know, bullish, I could see it being $350. The only time that I could see it being 300, because some other people are like, why would they do that? They just drop the price, like analysts and stuff like that. Not like, obviously fans are like, why not make it free? You know, but like analysts are saying like, you know, they could sell more if they drop the price of the original and then make this 350 or whatever, right? And they could do that, but I think that at that point it depends how much of these can they make. Because like
Yeah.
if they
It's not
if they
about selling more in a lot of
right.
respects, because they're gonna sell out of them the same way like PS5
Yeah.
and Xbox Series X, $500 and stuff. Like obviously those are more powerful than this will end up being, but that doesn't mean that it's going to be more popular necessarily one way or another.
Yeah.
So like it's going to sell out. So
yeah, at this point it's like I think that regardless of what they charge for it, unless it's like an obscene amount of money relative to what is visually different about the thing. Like if it's definitely like every game now is 4K and it looks great and blah blah blah, I can see this selling for the same price as PlayStation 5 and Series X, even if it's not as good looking, because it's like it's 4K and it looks great and it looks as good as like PlayStation 4 Pro or whatever, but it's portable. You know, it's not going to be 4K and look like that portably, but like you have that option to then play it portably. I can see them being like $500, just like everybody else. But if again, it's just that 3DS, new 3DS boost, then it'll probably be 400. And it's like the difference for them is like how much of these can we manufacture? Like if we can manufacture enough that 10 million of these are immediately off the shelves, right? I can see that being 350. But it's like, we can only manufacture 3 million for the first month or so, right? 400, you know, because like it becomes about volume at that point, because I think that they're going to sell every one that they can make unless it's too expensive.
Yeah.
So like if they can only make but so many of them, I think it's going to cost more.
Yeah.
But if they can make a lot, I can see them lowering the price.
I pulled 2 questions from Discord that were relevant here. So instead of putting them in Q&A, we're going to talk about them here. Jack Attack said, with all of the industry analysts pulling random figures straight out of their butts on these Switch Pro rumors, what do you guys actually think about the possibility of a $400 price? I personally think that they'll drop the prices of the Switch and Switch Lite when they drop a new Switch. I mean, so we've talked about the first part of this.
Yeah,
for sure.
I think it completely depends on what their optics are looking like how much stock they already have of the current models, how much stock they project that they'll have for the new models, and how much that will break down to like what their profits will be when they sell them or whatever. Because like realistically, again, I think that they're going to charge the most amount of money that they think they can move every unit that they make at. It's not really about them trying to be like, oh man, what will consumers like be happy and feel like they got a steal for? I don't think that that's what they're aiming for. They're like, all right, people are happy enough with what Switch is, so let's charge the most amount of money that they are willing to pay for it. They might feel like, I guess I'll give you $400. At the end of the day, they're going to give us the $400. I could see them charging that.
I think the other part of it for me is what their phasing looks like, as far as like what does the Switch Pro mean in terms of like, is it a supplementary thing where it's like, and this is the elite version, like the elite controller, is this the elite version that only some people are going to get, or is this the future of the Switch kind of thing? Because I could see, in an alternate world where it's like, well, this is what the Switch is now, or it's more, instead of being called the Switch Pro, where it feels like something for just a smaller group of people, it's the new Nintendo Switch, and they then have the new Nintendo Switch and the new Nintendo Switch XL or something like that. Then I could see them having the price be lower, like $350 or something like that, so that more people are get in the door.
I think that if it is just the new, or not like new Nintendo Switch in the way that a new 3DS, blah blah blah, if it literally replaces the Switch, I could see it being $350. But if there are two things that live side by side, I definitely think it's $400.
I think they have to have at least $75. Like I could see, because like $275 and $350, but not $300 and $350 or something like that.
And the thing about it is like, even in that the times where there are two versions, and one's like marginally worse than the other one or whatever, like when the thing is like something people want, they're going to go with the more expensive version. iPhone minis don't sell good. Like nobody bought the 8 GB Wii U, except for me, because I had to. It was like, oh, there's no more. I'm buying this too early. Everybody's buying up all the stock, But usually if you're given two options, one option is clearly better than the other one, and it's $100 more, people are going to go with the higher option. We're seeing that now with Switch versus Switch Lite. Even though they have the option to buy a console that will literally, like, the price difference is literally 50% of the cheaper thing, like, I think it's going to still be the same. Like, effectively, regardless of what they do marketing wise, the Switch Pro is going to replace the OG Switch. So
yeah, I wouldn't be like if I were Nintendo, which I am, I would leave Switch Lite at $200, OG Switch at $275, and Switch Pro, depending on what it is and how it does certain things, at $350, if that's what they want, kind of the future to be. And then at some point later, when they bring it back down to $300, it's like, wow, that's a steal now. If the Switch Pro ends up being $300, even though that's the same price point the Switch is currently at right now. And then at that point they can phase out the OG Switch, and then they just have the Switch Lite and the Switch Pro essentially, and it's still at $200 and $300, or $150 and $300, but they don't lose that $300 price point even once they've had a price drop. Sardi asked to add on, if you don't think $400 is fair for a rumored Super Nintendo Switch, what would they have to do to make it worth the guesstimated $400 price tag?
I think $400 is fine for what it is. Like I would like for me, the price that I would start to be like, what is this? Is the 500. I would still pay it. But that would be the price for me. And it's like, I don't know about this price, chief.
Yeah, right.
But $400 is fine. Like, based off of what we know, I could see that being $400, and I wouldn't really like think about it. It's like, that's how much the Series S is. All right.
Yep.
Okay.
The other thing I could see happening is that, again, they phase out the current, that they announced the taking words back, that the current Switch as it is, the chip that exists, NVIDIA apparently is, getting rid of those chips and stuff like that. It's phasing those out so that they would end up having a new chip, Switch OG and Switch Pro, that both have the new chips and all that. Like what they did, and that they Switch Lite. Right. And so, but instead of doing a silent revision with the current Switch, the way that they did with the Switch Lite, that they announce at the same time, they go, here's the new Nintendo Switch and the new Nintendo Switch Pro, and announcing both of those at the same time, where one of them is still just $300.
They kind of did that though.
They did, like, but they didn't
market it. It was like they released press releases where they're like, here's the Nintendo Switch Lite, and then also in a separate press release, also we're updating the other Switch with the new chip too. So I think
if they do both of those at the same time, instead of just adding a $400 one, if they go, the $300 one's getting better, and we're also doing $400 one, somehow to me that lessens the blow of feeling like they're just adding on an extra $100 thing. I don't know. That feels kind of dumb, but like at that point it'll show like that this is supplementary to it. But I think people would still want to get it.
Yeah, I think people are going to buy the more expensive one regardless. But I mean, if they wanted to do that, I think that might, if their plan is to still continue to sell the OG Switch, they're going to have to do that.
Yeah,
because if NVIDIA's not making the chip that the OG Switch currently uses anymore, they're going to have to move it over to a chip that they do make. So I can see that happening regardless, if they, again, keep it going and don't like just say like the Switch is the Switch Pro now or whatever.
Yep. So one of the parts that we talked about with that though was if there's going to be exclusive games, and that's something I talked about in a video this week, and we're going to talk about the comments now. It's funny. I realized this was a controversial topic as I realized that I was going to make the video. I was like, I'm kind of okay with some exclusive Switch Pro games. I don't think people like that much. And then I wrote the whole video and forgot that was controversial. And then I saw like a couple of dislikes right away on the video and some kind of like, people who disagreed. And I was like, oh yeah, that was controversial. I kind of forgot. And then when people were like, I agree with you, I was like, oh, that's weird that people agree with me. It was like this weird back and forth that to be honest, I'm very on the fence about it anyway. So as I talk about this, it's more of a thought experiment in some ways, but like I can see some benefits of it, like I talked about in the video. But I even realized once the video was done, I was like, man, there was like 3 or 4 things I was going to put in there that I just forgot to. So
I think the divide really is just self-preservation. Where it's like, I don't think I can afford this thing, so I don't want exclusives. And people being like, I know I can and will definitely buy this thing, and I want more justification to do so. So I do want exclusives. And that's where that divide sits. And I mean, there's also people that like could afford it but don't want to buy it. So it's like, no, I don't want exclusives because I don't want reasons to have to buy it or feel like I have to buy it.
I mean, and the other part of that
with whatever, like whatever.
I mean, I think there's some people too, like I typically would, because, like I said, I was going to buy, I'll buy a Switch Pro anyway. But I typically would be like, well, but business sense for Nintendo, like they've got all these customers, blah, 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 that kind of thing. But like, who cares? They're going to make whatever business decisions they want. Or thinking on the customer side, and which that's the part where I'm like more empathetic to that. Cause typically I'm putting myself in the position of somebody who just bought a Switch the other day and feeling sad for them. But at the same time, it's kind of like, I don't know, business is business. Things are going to happen one way or another.
Yeah, and so the people that just bought a Switch the other day waited this long to buy a Switch now. So like, how likely would it be if they were like, okay, they came out with a Switch next year, for them to be like, oh, okay, well, I'll buy a new Switch, right? Like they wait into a console or the product's life cycle anyway. So for it to be like, okay, here's this new thing, here it is, like why make everybody that's an early adopter wait even longer? Because you're betting that the person that just bought a Switch yesterday might buy a new Switch if we come out with that 3 years from now. It's like you can't split hairs like that, because then nothing new would come out.
Right.
And on the topic of the consumer thing, the console business in a lot of ways is like the straw that broke the camel's back. So like if it's this thing that's like, oh man, a Switch just had Star Fox, and then a Switch Pro came out and Star Fox is exclusive to that, guess who's buying a Switch Pro? The person that is like, if only, So I think that in a lot of ways, in the same way that people think that it could hurt them, it could help them potentially more than even that, right? Because they're not in this position where they're clinging to every consumer that they have now. It's not Wii U. Like if they came out with a Wii U Pro, then they're screwing people over, and then they might lose out on money. But now they're to the point where way more people own Switches than people who are allegiant to Nintendo in any way. Anyway, they're just buying what they think has the thing that they want. So Nintendo coming out with another thing that has things that they want, it's probably going to make them double dip too.
Right.
So,
and the thing too is like, on one hand, we've talked about how there's 80 million people on the original Switch. If they come out with the Switch Pro, who's going to want to put their games on that? Because then it dooms them to failure, because they're only going to have this many, whatever. But the thing is, with system sellers, with the straw that broke the camel back kind of thing, that's the whole point, is that people are going to buy that new console. Like the attach rate is going to be insane for the couple of games that are on that, because that's the whole point of them buying that one, so like,
especially the people that like come in early, where it's like, oh, I'm buying a new console, and what am I going to buy with this new console? The game that it's for it,
So I mean, definitely, like it would have fewer potential sales, especially for like haphazard buyers or something like that, than it would on the base Switch, because there's so many more people on the base Switch. But that doesn't mean that, if, say, the example I gave at the end of the video, where it's like, by the end of the life cycle, there's 130 million Switches out there. 100 of them are the original one. 30 million are the Pro of some variety, or the new Switch or whatever. Then like, I could still easily see a game selling 15 million on just that within, because like there's Switch games that have 50% attach rates. And that's, especially by the time we were 30 million into its life cycle, there were games with more than 50. Yeah, I think Mario Kart had around a 50% attach rate in any case, which is insane, but just the way it is.
Yeah. So. And I mean, maybe we'll have a Breath of the Wild situation.
Yeah, right.
At one point, it had more than 100%. Yeah. And also, it's like people say that, like, oh man, there's 80 million people, blah blah blah. But it's not like any person other than maybe Nintendo ever puts out a game thinking that they're going to reach even 20% of that user base, right?
Yeah, right.
They're like, man, okay, we have 80 million people in hopes that we'll get 2 million of those, maybe, so if the game that they want, like that they're putting on there is like something people want enough, right? Like GTA 5 or 6 or whatever, right?
Yeah.
They're not worried about the 80 million people in the same way, right? Like they might be worried about them because they think that they can get more of that pie, but they're not worried about them in the sense where it's like, man, we can't find an audience within 10 million people. No, 10 million people are going to buy that game. It's like, it's one of those games. Like those are the type of games that people are like, man, if only Metal Gear Solid came to Switch, if only blah blah blah. Like this console having those things as exclusives is a bonus. Like it might make people that can't buy the Switch Pro or don't want to buy the Switch Pro or whatever, that might make them upset. But at the end of the day, that's not hurting the company, because you being mad at them for something that you don't want to spend the money to buy anyway, it's like, whatever.
The interesting thing with install base and attach rate and whatever is like an indie game that came out like Golf Story or something like that came out within the first year of the Switch when there was 10-ish million Switches out there or something like that, in some ways was sort of better off than one coming out now when there's 80 million Switches, because
there's so many
competition and stuff like that. Right. So it is funny how like if they came out with the Switch Pro, something making a Switch Pro exclusive game would kind of reset that clock a little bit if you got in early on. Because in the same way that like nobody's really playing Stadia, but like the couple games that were marketed for Stadia were the ones that did the best, because those are the only ones that like people were.
Yeah, like I wonder how many Cyberpunk copies sold on Stadia since that with like the whole marketing campaign for that unofficially was like, it plays best here because everywhere else sucks. So it's interesting. So okay, I'm gonna read some comments now. I picked some that are kind of all across the board, and generally I agree with them, even if they don't agree with me. So, but that's it. James Fenlon said, a lot of people who have Switch are discussing casuals. It says disgusting. I was thinking it was supposed to mean whatever. I'm just going to say casuals because I don't know what it's supposed to mean. A lot of people who have Switch are casuals. So as long as exclusives are from unpopular franchises, i.e. Xenoblade for new 3DS, then just make it clear. Wait, what do you mean? That's what he was saying. Disgusting casuals.
I'm taking that out because I don't like that.
Oh, gotcha.
I mean, no, but you're right. I wasn't taking it out for that reason. It was because I was confused, but
it was just, it's unnecessarily mean.
Yeah. 100%. So are from unpopular franchises like Xenoblade for new 3DS, and then just make it clear with a new label like new 3DS, just in case. I would be okay with that as long as there's not a huge amount. I can't get over the disgusting casuals thing. If you're a casual gamer, you're great and I love you. And
also, like, even casuals will spend a lot of money
100%.
to just play one video game. Look at all the people that bought a Nintendo Switch console for Animal Crossing. Like, even with the right IP will sell literally anybody on a new console.
I mean, especially
if you're
like
only going to play that.
Especially thinking last year with Animal Crossing that like people were buying them used or not used, but like, scalped for like $500. So like spending over $500 for Animal Crossing. Like that's
Yeah,
Insane.
ironically, the people that are like more likely to get angry and less likely to buy
Mm-hmm.
into a console to get exclusives are hardcore gamers.
Yeah,
That's the most ironic thing because
that is
they're the
funny.
only people that are attaching like
Mm-hmm.
value like that. So like,
Right. Yeah.
man, usually I could buy a console for X. The
Mm-hmm.
casual gamer is thinking like, that's a Beyonce concert. I mean concert. I'll do that for Animal Crossing.
Yeah.
Like whatever.
Uh-huh. It's
That's
true.
2 dates. Like,
So that
I
comment
don't know,
aside,
man.
I agree with the rest of it though, that like, well, I don't know about not the unpopular franchises part. It's interesting. These adjectives, you're getting me with these.
Mhm, mhm,
But
mhm.
generally, I will say I agree with it would be better off if the Switch Pro exclusives, if they happen, are just very well thought out ahead of time. That it's like there's only going to be a limited amount, and these are the ones that we like care about making that, not just,
Yeah, I think better
you know what I mean?
subjective though. I think it's subjective.
Yes.
I think it would make some people feel better, but that doesn't
Mm-hmm.
necessarily mean it would be better for people that buy Switch Pro that don't buy Switch Pro for Nintendo, for the developers or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
I think what needs to be on Switch Pro are games that people would buy on Switch Pro. And if
Yeah.
that just so happens to be a game that you want and you don't want or can't afford or whatever a Switch Pro, I'm sorry. Like it's capitalism, unfortunately.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I think to say like the best strategy for making a console successful is by putting games that are less successful on it. It's like,
Right. No. Yeah. Yeah. I
like of
definitely.
course some games will benefit from that. It will be like high tide raises all boats and all that other stuff. But I
Mm-hmm.
think to say that like a strat is to put exclusive games on here, but only games that aren't successful, it's like you're missing the point.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I think 100%. It will need to have some kind of system seller, and that's
Yeah.
like something that I mean, the new 3DS probably with Minecraft was the closest thing to that, because
Yeah.
Xenoblade Chronicles wasn't a system seller for it, you know.
And
That's
also like
just
the SNES games too.
yeah, yeah.
And Earthbound I don't think Earthbound came to the original 3DS, did it?
No, I think
Well,
you're
yeah, it's
right,
an
because it was an
SNES game. So
SNS
yeah,
game. Yeah.
Earthbound.
So
Right. So like Earthbound is another one of those
uh-huh.
things.
Was there something else? Fire Emblem Warriors, but like yeah, most of those
Yeah,
actually.
I mean it came to the original 3DS, but it ran like garbage. So it was
Oh,
like
really? Okay,
effectively
gotcha.
a new 3DS exclusive.
So
Or
I
was
mean,
it?
I
It might have
think
been like Fire Emblem Warriors was exclusive because Hyrule Warriors ran like garbage. I think that might have
that
been
sounds right. I'm pretty, because I was pretty sure I saw that in a list of exclusive ones.
it.
But yeah, I think it's important for there to be a system seller, and like
Mhm.
still that, you know, I do empathize with anybody that then wouldn't want to buy it because they don't have the money.
Yeah, I mean it's unfortunate, but again, I can't necessarily say I empathize with that. I empathize with people that want it and can't get it for whatever reason.
Mhm.
But even then, it's like you don't need it, and like whatever, it's
Um,
there. You could buy it, you don't buy it,
mhm.
it's fine.
Chronically Cal said it's a no from me, at least for first party games. There are too many people who are invested in the Switch ecosystem and who have been told it's at the midway point who can't afford a new Switch. Plus, I think making new titles in long, quiet franchises exclusive to a new Switch could be a disservice to those series. Many people who have a Switch simply may have never tried them and then not have a chance because they're not willing to invest for a game they may not like. I would love to try Star Fox because the Switch is my first time being invested in gaming, but can't drop up to $500. I'm Canadian, lol. Plus $80 for the game on something I might not enjoy. Third-party games, especially with cloud alternatives, would bother me less because I think a lot of those games would be games that simply wouldn't have made it to Switch otherwise.
Yeah, but I think that that's like going to be the thought process here. Like games that couldn't be on Switch anyway for one reason or another,
Right.
even if to them that is Star Fox. Like, what
Mm-hmm.
if the game that they want to make is impossible on the OG Switch technologically? So they
Right.
put it on Switch Pro. Like, I doubt that, especially Nintendo would put a game exclusively on the Switch Pro or whatever it's called
Mm-hmm.
because that's what they want to do. It's
Right.
like it's exclusive to the Switch Pro because they couldn't make it otherwise. Like I guarantee you, if Xenoblade Chronicles 3D definitive. I mean, 3D. The original one's just 3D.
Yeah.
If it could run on the OG Switch, they would put it. I mean, on the OG 3DS, they would have put it on the OG 3DS, but it would not have ran.
Yeah.
And they have demonstrated that with the Legends game. I mean, with Hyrule Warriors Legends, whatever that the 3DS one was called. They demonstrated that because they were like, it can run in theory. It doesn't run well, but it runs, and they put it on there. So like here, and that's why I take more issue with people being like, no, I don't want them to do that because like I would feel left out. It's like if I can't have it, nobody can, sort of thing. It's not them denying you, you're trying to deny everybody else. Because it's either a game like that if it's done right, obviously, I'm not saying like if they arbitrarily wall people off of certain games or whatever, but if these games are done right, you saying you don't want it is more saying I don't want this game to be made, and less so I don't want this game to be like excluded from me because it's on the Switch Pro or whatever, right?
I think with Nintendo especially, we see a lot of like it's a games first company in the sense that they like think Mario Odyssey, where there was a lot of features of the Joy-Con that exist because Mario Odyssey had ideas that they were like, it would be cool if we could do this, and then talked to R&D and were like, hey, could you make, like, I think the Joy-Con or the HD Rumble was something that they had, was an idea for Mario Odyssey first, something along those lines. Where they had the idea for that thing, went to R&D was like, oh cool, yeah, we can do that. So similarly,
we can put that in the controller. Yeah, that's exactly how they do that, right?
I think there's,
and it was like the same thing with Wii Sports, where they're like, we're making this tennis game. It'd be dope if it, to swing the thing, you actually play tennis. And they're like, oh shoot, yeah, let's make a console.
That's a whole console. And so I think there's a lot of situations where they might have ideas for games that they want to be able to make, and just, an open world or open Galaxy Star Fox game that just like wouldn't be able to run on the Switch, and they don't want to wait until the next gen console actually, wait an extra 3 or 4 years or whatever, but they wanted to go ahead and do it. And so if so, then this is a way to make that happen.
Right.
Yeah. So but that's the thing, like, hopefully, if they do it right, that's the way they would do it. And that's the way I think everybody would be like, it sucks a little bit, but like, I get it. As opposed to if they find out later that, I think that game totally could have run on the original Switch.
I think that's the only way that they've done it. Like, there's never been an example of Nintendo just putting a game on exclusively on their console because that's what they want to do.
I mean, for example, like if they were that kind of company to do that, they would have, like, they delayed Breath of the Wild until the Switch came out, so it wasn't Zelda U or whatever in that regard, but they didn't take it off of
and they
that would have been
they literally made the Switch version of the game like they
run as bad as the
they made the Switch version worse because it was also on Wii U. Like, it's not like they said, okay, wait, we got to optimize this and make sure it runs better on Switch because it's more powerful, blah, blah, blah. Like, it was worse. So, like, I just don't think that is, like, a scenario that I think a lot of people are making up in their head. And, like, I would be mad if that was the case. If they were like, oh, well, just because we want it to sell more, we're going to make this exclusive. Less so than, like, oh, now that we have this new console, we can make this game.
You just said make this game like Mario.
But I mean, like, make a insert game.
Okay, I see. I thought you just arbitrarily went make this game.
No. I meant like insert game sort of thing.
Okay, no, that I agree. So I think it is tricky because, like, we'll find out when it comes out or whatever, but I agree with you that, like, we haven't seen them do that really in a bad way. So Gliger Guy says, I'm cool with ports from other platforms being exclusive, but no original games should be exclusive at all, especially first party ones. That makes zero business sense too.
Yeah, no, I disagree.
We've touched on some of this, the zero business sense part, but yeah, especially, like, I think if they're going to have any, if they're going to have any games be exclusive, I think Which again, like we're talking about this as if it's going to
like,
happen. It might
it's
not,
like, yeah,
you know?
if it's a big enough technological leap,
Yes,
it makes all the business sense in the world to release an exclusive game and be like, this is why you need to buy this console.
right.
Not like, oh, this is a game that we put on here arbitrarily. It's like, this is a game that is only made possible by this console that you need to buy because it's this much better. They're not going to be like, people really like Mario, we're killing them on March 31st, so we can only put them on Switch Pro. You know, like, it's going to be like, man, we really wanted to make this Star Fox game, but like, it's not a possibility on the console that we have right now, but we have this new thing, you know.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, the thing is, like, the Switch, when it first came out, well, like, everybody was wowed by it, you know, all the way. And then now there's just a lot less of that. It still exists, but it's like individual games, very specifically like cool moments, like, oh wow, that's impressive. But it's fewer and further between. And so like this could be an opportunity for them to bring that back up and be like, okay, yep, that, you know, it's really doing something cool there, instead of it being like having to go to Digital Foundry to see, like, it's actually really impressive that this one did this. Like, I wouldn't really know, because like other games look more impressive to me than this that apparently aren't, I guess, you know. It's like secret beneath the, you know, under the surface kind of stuff at this point. So this is, you know, an opportunity for them to do that. Last comment said from Erwin Yeagur. I'm sorry I said your name wrong, because I'm sure I did. Said, let all games be exclusive on each and every platform, whether it be Nintendo, Sony, Microsoft, Valve, whatever the fork. Let that shirt be exclusive so that we can get more better games and get gaming and let gaming triumph for mankind. That was a Good Place replacements. Do you know The Good Place, that show?
I've seen 3 episodes, I think.
That was their equivalent replacements. But yeah, the general gist being that that every console should be just exclusives. Nah.
I mean, I don't entirely disagree, but I think it's more like, it just depends on what the game is.
Yeah, right.
Like, because I think that console exclusives are almost always better than multiplies.
You mean like technologically, or
yes. Because they're able to fine tune it to whatever platform it's on. The multiplat thing is like, even if you like multiplat, because there's some multiplats that I like or whatever, but like there's no real argument that game wouldn't be better off if it was fine tuned for the platform that they're making it for, right? Like, look at Monster Hunter Rise as a good example for that. Right? It's like, man, it would have been impossible to put Monster Hunter World on Nintendo Switch, probably, but because they focused on Nintendo Switch for Rise, we got a pretty close, you know, analog to it on Switch. So I think that in that way, and especially since a lot of consoles, even though like Series X and PlayStation 5 are still kind of Me Too consoles, where it's like they're more or less the same. They have a lot of the same numbers and letters on their Switch. But like there's small differences. Like I talked about a lot when they first came out, like how on paper the Series X is more powerful. There's small things that like might help PlayStation 5 catch up and exceed in small ways, but on paper the Series X, if they did like make it for Series X, it would run better. But because they make games to be like, the PlayStation 5 is going to be the more popular one, so like let's reach for that and then adapt it to Series X. In that scenario, we would get games that look better and run better and stuff like that on Series X because it's the more powerful console, you know?
Yeah.
And on the other end of the spectrum, we would get games that look better and run better for what the Switch is on the Switch than we currently do, where currently we get games that are like downgraded to reach a certain spec rather than fine-tuned for what the Switch is capable of.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely agree in that direction, as far as like the games themselves would be better on each platform. I think my experience as a gamer would be worse in that, like, obviously I'd still enjoy all the first party stuff, and then but like there would just be way more instances like of like I don't want to own one of every platform. For somebody that does, then that would be great, because then you get access to all of them and they'd all be good. But like for all the multiplayer, like, you know, if you're like, I like playing FIFA and I like playing Madden, and then those both come out on different ones, and that's the only games that you play is FIFA and Madden, like, I don't know, that could, you know, business wise, that would be kind of lame. But like technologically, each game would be better.
I don't know in that. I don't know if in that scenario it would be like that. Like they would do similarly to how effectively JRPGs work,
right?
Where it's like our audience is on.
They would target one or the other.
So it's exclusive for here. So it's like you as a fan of sports games would know what platform you should buy.
You would truly have an RPG machine.
Yeah,
and,
exactly.
No, I mean, yeah, there's truth to that. So I thought it was a funny comment in any case. But that's it for my videos. Yeah. Any last thoughts on exclusives and all that stuff?
No, I mean, it's pretty much to summarize everything. I think exclusives are fine. I think they should have exclusives if this is a big jump to demonstrate how the jump is big.
Yeah.
And that's okay. You know, it's like even if you have to play the game later, it's like you would buy the Switch 2 and then it's backwards compatible and play that then or whatever, right?
Yep.
But like to use you being excluded as justification to exclude everybody from this theoretical experience that's not possible on the OG hardware, I think is like hypocritical.
I mean, and I could also see them, you know, if there's going to be exclusives, it's going to launch probably with an exclusive or two and then have a couple. But like if they sell really poorly, then they'll stop pretty quickly. You know, like so I think it's a, you know, there's a risk reward there for sure. But
yeah, but that's exactly what that means though. It's like, do people care about that, right? Where it's like the people that are buying this, is this why they're buying it? I know I personally would, I mean, I would buy it anyway, but I would be more happy about my purchase if it was justified through the type of games that are theoretically possible here that aren't possible there. Yeah, because then it's like, am I buying it because it's an OLED screen? Right. You know, like that sort of thing.
Yeah. I mean, it'll be interesting just overall to see, you know, when it comes out at this point, that like how much better everything runs, I don't think or looks or anything.
I think that if we're basing it off of like how everybody's looking at it so far, like what Nintendo has done, which I think is weird. I think it's so weird because like on the Wolf Den podcast, right, they were talking about how it's like they wouldn't call it Switch Pro because that's not a Nintendo thing. Nintendo has never done that. They will call it New Nintendo Switch, and I'm like, wait, what? New Nintendo Switch is new for them too. Like they've literally
because the new 3DS. Well, I mean,
yeah,
done it
but
once.
The new 3DS was the first time they ever did that. Right. So to be like, man, they never did that before. Maybe they'll do this thing that they done before, but that would be the first time that they did the thing that they did before. You know, like it's more likely for them to go completely in the other direction than for them to do the thing that they did last time. You know, the last time they just did the thing that they did last time, the Super Nintendo. That is the last time that they did that. Every other time they completely zagged in the other direction. They're like, oh, we got the N64. Oh, you thought GameCube was going to have a similar controller to that? No, it's entirely different controller.
You have to use 4 hands.
Not even remotely the same shape. You know, like Nintendo, the thing that is more likely for Nintendo every time is for them to do the thing that they have never done. And so it's like, I don't know, like, I think that to try to set it based on precedent in that way, especially since it's not like a precedent that has shown to be particularly successful. Like I could see like the argument, because we've made the argument of like them doing Switch again, because like financially it just makes sense for them, and they have made infrastructural changes within their company to like facilitate that moving forward, right? But there's no reason other than to I don't know, make fans feel familiar, to be like, we're using the new branding again, or Super, you know. So yeah, I don't know. I think the argument that it's like precedent just doesn't make sense for Nintendo.
Yeah, the interesting, because I'm thinking the only other precedent I can think of is using the Lite, like Switch Lite, DS Lite, and Game Boy Advance Lite or Game Boy Lite or something. But
yeah, but Game Boy Light, I think
that was
it,
interesting because that was a backlit
I think
screen.
it was, yeah, they literally, it wasn't LITE. It was like light. It was like light. Like,
I'm looking it up. Game, because I can't remember now. I mean, I literally looked it up. Game Boy Light. Yeah, it was LIGHT.
Yep.
So yeah, it's I mean, yeah. I think there's not enough precedent to go off of one way or another for sure. I think, yeah, it's a question too of just like we were saying before, of like how they're positioning this thing. If its purpose is to be an additional thing or like an alternative thing that's stronger than a word more like pro or ultimate or whatever, something that implies like elite or whatever is the better direction to go in. If it's something that's supposed to be the future, then using a more like new or something like that word is the thing. Because that was obviously with the 3DS, that was the intention, was that it was like, this is the way we're going. We're dropping the old thing and we're doing this instead.
And I think that like just looking at again how Nintendo talk, and if we're even going off of that logic of like familiarity, like people know the new branding now or whatever, right? People know the pro branding significantly more, like the pro branding is all over the place across multiple industries. The one of which is like
Apple.
Nintendo. Exactly. Nintendo has said several times that they like aspire to be Apple in more ways than one. So for them to like co-opt the pro branding would not surprise me at all.
Yeah.
I would not be shocked. I wouldn't be like, what? This is very un-Nintendo,
Yep. So that's my video. We did it. We talked about that. Moving on into your video. If we're going to co-opt that, no, whatever. Pokemon. You talked about Arceus. I did it. I said it the right way. Unlike you.
Arceus. Yeah. I mean, I did that intentionally, sort of. Because it's like they said both. Like Arceus was its name at one point.
Yeah, for sure.
Officially. It wasn't like this like Mandela effect. I think they wanted to be because they were like, oh damn, we called it Arse. Change it now. Like but yeah, I wanted to do that bit.
It was a good bit. Yeah, man. Any thoughts before we get into the comments?
Yeah, I think that's what they're doing. Like the Arceus came out and I was like, oh shoot. And I talked about that. Like I think I even like alluded to this. It wasn't like as fully formed of a thought like during the stream, but it's like like if you look at this generation, it looks like they're compartmentalizing Pokemon.
Yeah, right, for sure.
And it doesn't seem like a permanent thing in the way that people are like, just, make games for everybody. It feels like them trying to figure it out.
I mean, that's the best way to do that. Like if you've got to learn while you're on the go, then like then compartmentalize and just like practice in different sections. It's like, if you're learning a song or whatever, you're not just going to try to learn the whole thing at once every time. You'll break it down in sections, learn this bit, and then piece it all together. And seems like that's what they're trying to do. I only said learn a song because my guitar's over here. Tyler Vision said, great video. I love your attention.
Are you freaking Wanda and Vision's
That's the one.
Son?
Yep. 100%. Great video. I love your attention to detail. I personally think Pokemon Legends is going to flip the script. Like, what if there is no box to store Pokemon? Hence the reference to the journal in the trailer. You're limited to only having 6 Pokemon at a time. Similarly, young Professor Oak had a sketchbook when he met Ash in Pokemon Forever. Even if that's not the case.
I would hate that. I would be so upset. Like, if you literally mean like, it's like a party. Like you have 6 Pokemon, can't catch anymore. But I doubt that would be the case because they did say you got to fill out the Pokedex. But then again, like if it's a sketchbook thing, if it's like, okay, I'm drawing this Pokemon. That would suck though. I hate it. I hate this game.
I mean, or maybe you turn them in.
Because this would be like a worse version of what I hate about Pokemon Coliseum and XD. Because
Which
it's
is
like, oh, in that game, you're limited to like having a party of however many Pokemon out of the 60 that are in the game that are catchable or whatever, right? But in this case, it's like you only have a party of 6, and that's it. Like no box storage.
I could also see, instead of it specifically, it would be neat if instead of it being box storage, because there's maybe not the technology or something like that, it's like there's a ranch or something like that where you turn them into
that would be
Professor
hype.
Oak.
If it literally was
whatever.
Professor Oak's ranch, where it's like all your Pokemon are on one thing. Because again, that's another like dream Pokemon thing from the anime, where it's like the anime just got that right. Where it's like you just go back and you're like, look at all my Pokemon.
My Pidgey.
It doesn't feel like you're neglecting them and letting them rot, but rather they're being cared for. And you can go back and visit them all whenever you want to.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if it's something more like that, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, we got the overworld, so like I think an overworld is conducive to that. And I mean, Let's Go kind of flirted with that.
Yeah,
you sort of have
in the
like
Safari Zone place.
Where it's like
Park or whatever.
Yep. So it's like they kind of flirted with that. So maybe, who knows?
Yeah. Even if that's not the case, I'm excited either way. The new games announced are an overall positive direction. I believe they will exceed expectations. On another note, I have to say I greatly appreciate your positive attitude towards things like the chibi style and Let's Go. Some, not all, Poketubers are definitely upset about the art styles. It reminds me of when Wind Waker came out. Personally, I appreciate, and then a laughing face. I didn't. There you go. Personally, I appreciate remakes for what they're worth and enjoy different art styles. I actually prefer the chibi look over the more real look, maybe because I grew up on the Game Boy. It's kind of like when you read a book and your imagination fills in the gaps and you see a movie about said book and it disappoints. Anyway, thanks for the great video.
Thanks for watching it and for the great comment. But yeah, I try to do that generally with everything, like especially with Pokemon, because it's like, I don't know. I don't see the point in like hating on literally everything, and especially stupid things like that. Like I couldn't care less about the art style as long as I can like tell what is happening on the screen. I don't care. There are art styles that I would prefer, and not even in the way where it's like, oh man, I like this art style better, but just art styles that I think would be hype, like the freaking Mystery Dungeon art style. That art style is sick. Like do that in every Pokemon game, all of them. Do a whole game in like the Masuda. I mean, not Masuda, and
Sugimori.
Yeah, Sugimori. Do that. Do a whole Pokemon game in Sugimori's art style. That'd be hype. I'd be down.
Yeah.
Yeah. Dude,
that would be super cool.
Do an anime looking like have it look like the anime or Origins or Generations or having like Ultimate Ninja Storm.
I always wonder, like, do you think Pokemon? Because Pokemon Snap, for example, it's Bandai Namco, and they're obviously going for like a very like 3D anime style. Like when you look at
it looks like Pokken.
Yeah, but like the human characters and stuff look like like 3D anime shows or whatever.
Yeah.
I wonder if to them that's their like that is the 3D representation of the anime and stuff like that. Like, because I would love to see a cell shaded, which is, I mean, this is Legends is kind of.
I think that they think that that's like the happy medium between hyper realistic and a Pokemon art style.
Yeah,
and I think that they don't need to even go in the hyper realistic realm to be a great looking thing. You know, like
it
embrace the fact that it's like anime inspired, right? And just double down on that, because that can look just as good. Like it looks just as quote unquote real, where it's like when people I think that it's more interesting to walk in like and you see somebody playing something and you're like, yo, are you watching a show? And you'd be like, oh man, it looks like a window into the world. You know, it's like I don't really care about that, but it's way more hype to find out like, oh man, is this a new episode? You're like, nah man, this is a video game. Yo, that would be hype.
That'd be super cool. I agree. Good comment. Mr. Percival 100 said, I feel the easiest way to quickly get out of a Breath of the Wild style game would be for Game Freak to reach across the aisle sorry, not get out of, get out. I feel the easiest way to quickly get out a Breath of the Wild style game would be for Game Freak to reach across the aisle and ask to borrow the Breath of the Wild team's resources. Use the same engine, maybe some of the same basic assets for things fans wouldn't mind, like grass or some rocks. Give it different textures and lighting and boom, you got a template to work with. You have the physics engine already built in. Most of the hard part of their production would already be done.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that. That could work.
I guess the one thought that I have here is the purpose of, because like Breath of the Wild is very built around the physics engine in that regard, or the chemistry engine or whatever. And that's just like,
I think the chemistry engine could be very Pokemon, especially if it's like an action game. But the physics engine's like, whatever. Like you don't really need the physics engine,
right?
Pokemon, unless it's like a Pokemon Ranger game.
Yeah, I mean, and that would be cool to have those things, but yeah, I guess it depends in what direction it's. If we're talking specifically about Legends, or if it's like, you know, the hypothetical completely different game that is just more like Breath of the Wild. But again, I think to me, it doesn't so much have to be a game it's like Breath of the Wild so much as what we keep talking about of like, it does what Breath of the Wild does by reinventing.
It's the Breath of the Wild version of Pokemon. Not the Zelda, not a Zelda game, but like Breath of the Wild specific, like how a lot of like hardcore like Zelda, like traditional Zelda fans, where it's like it doesn't have dungeons, no Zelda game, like that sort of fan. Like that's what I mean when I say like the Breath of the Wild. Like it's the game that realizes what they meant the game to look like and feel like and play like when they initially made it. So like it doesn't have to, and I think that I agree with this in the sense that they should like reuse like not assets with the engine and stuff like that as like a middleware sort of thing, in the same way that like Breath of the Wild used Havoc to like as a base to work off of and make their physics engine. But not in literally like, oh, this is a tree from Breath of the Wild. I don't think they need that.
They can just borrow trees from Sword and Shield. People love those.
Yeah, exactly.
I had to say it.
Fetch trees,
But I mean, yeah, I think definitely as many cheat codes as you can use in getting the like to achieve creative goals, I think are worth using. You know what I mean? Like
and like if they do the same thing that the Breath of the Wild team did and is doing, and tapped Monolith and was like, yo,
yeah, totally,
need your help. Yeah, like do stuff like that too.
Yep. I was even just thinking, so like again, going back to songwriting, because I've mentioned it before, like there's a certain amount of cheat codes, quote unquote, with that, where it's like there's if you know what people are expecting as far as, you know, song formula or something like that, like verse, chorus, bridge, chorus, you can be like, okay, I want to write an easy song. I don't have to think about that element of it at all. That's like, I'm just skipping that step. The foundation is already there. And then you fill in the gaps from there, and you can use whatever different tools to do that. Similarly with this, I think like, if there's just any tools that you're able to use to get you to the next part of it, then that's cool. And like the ones you just said. Amp said, is Legends Arceus? I see Legends Arceus. Yeah, I see Legends Arceus as the safest option for them to get to test a new style of gameplay. And since new gens are always being worked on, I see next gen will be another baby step from Sword and Shield. Once fans get a chance to react to Arceus, they'll use those lessons the following gen. Got to keep that train moving. No matter what, it's a win for fans and the franchise. People will just be very disappointed when next gen isn't as big a jump as they want.
Yeah, just like this gen. But like nobody's thinking, or those people aren't thinking logically. Their first thought was like, oh, it's on a console now, so therefore it will be a big console game. And it's like, no, man, like you can't. Companies, even multi-billion-dollar ones, cannot absorb experience through osmosis. They can't be like, oh, Microsoft is great at online services, so let's just absorb their experience. You know, it's like, no, you gotta like figure that what that is to you on your own. Like And there's shortcuts to that, sure, where it's like they could hire people from there, they could like commission other studios to help them out and blah blah blah. But I think that they'd prefer to do it themselves, and to do it yourself, that takes time to build.
Yeah. I mean, as far as the baby steps and stuff too, yeah, that's just like the whole reason that people there's that trope of, you know, people hate the new game that came, or people like the new game that comes out and then hate the one that just came out before it and love the one from 2 generations ago. And it was like, oh, it was underrated. But then that every new generation of any game that comes out, Mario, Zelda, whatever, same thing happens where 2 ago, they were like, man, that one was good. How did we forget how good that one was or something?
Yeah.
I think that's a lot of it is just because of expectations, is because like, yeah, most things just have kind of more baby steps ish than we might want it to have. Other than, I don't know, Breath of the Wild as a,
especially major
example.
Franchises like this.
Yeah, right.
And they're,
and they kind of have to, even if they could make bigger steps. A lot of it probably is like.
I just responded to it. I didn't pull a comment.
Ugh.
There was like another comment that was basically like, I don't think that there's going to be a change, because like, how would they change if they're working on the thing beforehand and then blah, blah, blah. And it's like, they don't have to. Oh, they said next year. They said they don't think that they should, or a 2023 game. They said they don't think that they should make a 2023 game because that doesn't give them enough time to learn from Legends Arceus. But ultimately, it doesn't take feedback from us for them to learn literally anything. Them developing Legends Arceus is teaching them actively for the next thing. So it's less so about our feedback. I don't think our feedback matters almost at all. Like it's more so like what they learn, that because they know what we want. We've been saying for forever we wanted it. It's very clear, like them, the steps that they're taking, it's obvious that they're like, okay, they want an open world game, so let's work towards that. So it's I think that fans think that their direct input is more important than this.
No, for sure. And I think I saw a video that talked about, in the Breath of the Wild development, something that was interesting was that they had a process where they had the game like kind of on a server somewhere or something, where once a week everybody would stop and play test the game for some amount of time, and they would go through and leave little like stakes in the ground pretty much somewhere in the game, like leave little comment blocks that's like, I like this thing, or and whatever, and people could vote on the different things that happen, but it was fully anonymous. So the purpose of it being that a lot of times in game development, you would have people from higher up being like, this is the thing we're going to do. We're going to add, dungeons in here or something like that. And then if other people that are more junior have ideas, they might not be heard because they're not as senior. But in this, it broke all that down. And like the idea was everybody plays it, everybody puts their suggestions, and it's anonymous, so that whether you're junior or senior, your ideas get heard just as much. And it's based on like a Reddit upvote, downvote kind of system. I think that reminded me just in general that like, yeah, game developers as a whole are able to tell what things are good or what things are bad. Like I think there's times where from the top they might have decisions they have to implement that they don't like, but generally
even further down the pike than that, where they're just like, okay, the game's getting ready to come out 3-4 months from now, they send it to internal developers. I mean like reviewers, to like give mock reviews, to be like, okay, this is like, to get an idea of what our Metacritic will probably be. And if sometimes if that's not good enough, they're like, all right, this game needs 2 more months of development. Like,
or for other developers, they just have to put it out anyway, and they put it out anyway, and it sucks. Like, so that's just,
so it's like, again, that's just another instance of, because especially for a franchise like Pokemon, fans are developing this game. Like they also loved this franchise, and a lot of them, especially now, also grew up with it. So it's not like we have some sort of like, I guarantee you there's at least one dude in Game Freak that is literally just me, where he's like, yo, just make it like the anime. I'm telling you guys, it'd be sick if you did this and that and blah, blah, blah. Like there is all fans that are making these games that is close to most perspectives that are popular within the Pokemon fan base. It just depends on who gets heard the most and what ideas
and which ones
are like.
actually work. Yeah, because it could be that some of them they try and they're like, that's bad, and like I know everybody wants that, but it's bad, and if we did it, they'd be sad about it. So like, you know, what are you gonna do? Yeah. Last comment, Jin Jukebox said, as someone who's played last Pokemon, what am I doing?
As someone who's last played
Pokemon game before Let's Go EV and Sword and Shield was Leaf Green on the GBA. The Switch games were a huge update to me. I've loved Pokemon since the beginning, but fell off since I didn't have any Nintendo systems in between GBA and Switch. I'd love to see any growth the series makes, and I agree that the DLC is a step in the right direction for future games to utilize as well. Thanks for the great video.
Thanks for commenting. Thanks for
people that said a great video. Goodness.
There's more people, dude. There's
what? Who also gave compliments? Impossible.
Yeah. I mean, I'm surprised. Like, I don't know. I'm always surprised that people aren't pissed off whenever I make a Pokemon video. Because simultaneously, I'm like, man, I love Pokemon. But also though, change everything. But also though, realistically, you know, like, so it's like I don't really stake a flag in either person's camp to be like, I know you guys think that Game Freak is the worst company ever, but like, not really, you know, like, but also it's like, honestly, that's how I feel. It's like I think that Game Freak does a lot of stuff right. They do a lot of stuff wrong. I think a lot of fans know where to go next, but also a lot of the fans are stupid. So it's like, it's an amalgamation of all of those perspectives.
Yeah, it's tricky. Yeah, I don't. Good old Pokemon, you know. We'll see what happens. I'm excited about. The more I think about Legends Arceus, like, I am curious what you know, what compromises end up being made for it, and if they're ones that I care about or not, et cetera, et cetera. But like, it'll be fun just to be in that world a little bit more, you know, in depth than we have been before, even if it feels different than other actual Pokemon games.
Yeah, I think that this will feel more like an evolution of Coliseum XD than an evolution of the main series, because I think that it's going to be gameplay wise, like the overall experience, the amount of time that you're going to get out of this game just playing it through normally, playing it through once, is going to be less than a normal Pokemon game. Yeah, because it, like, even with their marketing, it's like, this is a less realized Pokemon world. Like, literally, like, the world, the size of the world and all that other stuff, like, that's, we don't know that yet. We don't know how big the open world is. But like, the amount of things to do, like, because the trainer's journey doesn't seem to exist yet. So there's probably no gym battles and like that sort of thing, right? So like, the only thing that's left for them to make the campaign content is what's usually the B plot. Yeah. Which is like, oh, and also while you get the gym badges, there's a crime syndicate of some sort. Beat them too.
Yeah. And there it is. That's your video. Any last thoughts?
Nope.
Cool. We did it. Now here's time for Q&A. Sure. So, all right, YouTube community, I asked a poll question, as we are wont to do, and it was if people are playing Monster Hunter Rise or not, pretty much, long story short. And Captain Fash, I don't know, something like that, said, I'm so unsure about it. When I play the demo, I'm having an amazing time, but I'm not sure for how long I'll want to have these long boss battles. I'm afraid I'll quickly get bored.
Boss battles. I was talking to Parker about? I was talking to somebody about that.
I don't know.
I said Parker. I was talking to Lee about that.
I was like, I'm Parker.
There's another Parker.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah. But no, I was talking to Lee.
I'm not used to there being other Parkers. If I'm being another honest. Parker. It's so weird. Like, there's just not a lot of us. So
I know too. That's it. I was talking to Lee, and I was telling him about how it's like you're like my mom in the sense that like you never curse, and when you do, even if it's like the most benign thing, I'm like, what did you just say? like when the 2 times I heard you curse in Boston, I was like, what?
It's literally, it's pretty much for me. It's only ever for quotes or for laughs.
Yeah, and that's what I said.
That's it.
But
Just
that's
because, like,
the thing. Like that's like the like it's a free laugh. Like it's a free laugh because you never do. So like the set, like you could literally just be like F, and I would die. like
yeah,
removed of context. Like it would be hilarious. But yeah, no, I was telling because my mom's the same way. Where she was like, I think I told you this story.
Yeah.
I was at McDonald's and they're being people at McDonald's, you know, people that aren't getting paid enough to do what they do, and they're taking it out on the world. And my mom was like, "Oh, like what an asshole!" And I was like, "What?" It was like called my sister. It was like a whole thing. It was a phenomenon.
Yep. No, I'm pretty sure I told you too about, when same thing with my mom when, that was the thing I told you in Boston was, we were, she was getting gas, or she came to pick me up from school and she was running out of gas and she'd forgotten her credit card at home. And we were at the gas station and it's like a 30-minute drive back home from where we were living at that point. And she cussed in the car. And I was like, what? And I went back and told my sister, and it was just this big old thing. But it was just, I don't know, it was just really funny.
Wow.
So the actual question, what do you think?
It's going to be the same thing for me, but like literally, that's how so many of these things work, right? Where it's like I don't really care about Monster Hunter, but I have friends that do, and it's like a social thing. It's like, oh, I know you care about this game, so it'll probably be fun in that context. Because like I'm one of those people that's like it's fun hearing people that are passionate about a thing, even if I don't necessarily care about that thing, talk about that thing. That's why it's like usually when I date somebody, it's like I'm not trying to date like somebody that does the same thing as me, because I want to talk about things. You know, I want to talk about what I do, and like that be interesting to you in some facet, or the other way around, and me being like, man, I've never been in a doctor's office before, other than when I'm dying, but it sounds fascinating from the way you do it, you know, like that sort of thing. So like it's the same thing. Like I like hearing Ian talk about weed crap, but like even if I'm not gonna watch the specific thing that he's talking about, it's interesting.
Well, and it's fun because like you get a little bit of the like I haven't watched any Attack on Titan, and like I just never specifically wanted to watch Attack on Titan for whatever reason.
I'm averse to Attack on Titan. Like, I don't like when stuff is like, even if it's like supposed to serve this like narrative purpose, like it's supposed to make you feel uncomfortable, like the hyper violent, like I'm gonna literally like bite you, like I'm gonna like chew you, and you're gonna see the bones and hear all like it's like it's just gratuitous. And it's like,
it is, and so I'm like, I didn't really particularly watch it, but then Mitch was telling me that he's watching it, and it's fun to like just pretty much I get a synopsis from him and like talk about things in a way that it's like I can learn some information from somebody else that they're enjoying telling me. And, you know, at the same time, it's like I don't have to end up caring that much about this thing, but just enough to get the highlights. And like that's fun. Conversations, you know what I'm saying?
It's true.
As far as the Monster Hunter thing, it's so hard to say because like I think if you're afraid that you'll quickly get bored, you probably will quickly get bored, but it also could be a gameplay loop that'll hook you. Like I was afraid I'd get bored with Animal Crossing really quick, and I played it for 150 hours or whatever.
I already told you
did.
I assured you.
I think the thing for
me, like that's the difference, because it's like I don't really care about Monster Hunter. I tried the demo. I've tried other Monster Hunter games. And every time I'm like, I don't care about this game. And none of my friends that like the game, like Ian, right? Like Ian's not like, sure, I'm going to like it. Ian's like, you know, it's like, you might like it, maybe not. There's like some, you know, there's some through lines, like there's like fighting game-esque stuff in it or whatever, right? But nobody has been like, you're definitely going to like this game. Because there's not anything that like specifically would connect me with it, you know?
Right. The hard thing for me is like,
other than
with some games like this, if I can just see the gameplay loop right from the onset, it makes it harder to get into it because I know that I'm fighting a monster to upgrade my gear, to fight the next monster, to upgrade my gear, to fight the next monster. You know what I mean? So like if it's about upgrades,
I don't have a problem with the loop. It's what I'm doing during the loop. That's the deciding factor for whether I'm going to like a game or not.
Yeah.
Because like the Metal Gear Solid Phantom Pain loop is like pretty simple for most of it, where it's like, oh, you recruit the thing to get your base stronger to do, but like that sort of thing. But like the act of doing that is fun.
Yeah.
From what I've played, I don't have fun with the Monster Hunter combat system. So that in and of itself breaks the loop right at its center for me, where it's like, if you don't have fun playing the game, you're not going to have fun getting better equipment to be able to play the game more efficiently.
Right. Yeah. It'll be interesting to see over time, because I'm a little bit on the other side where when I played the demo, at least, especially when I was playing with Mitch, I was having a fun time playing it. And some of that I think is figuring out like what weapons are right for you and what fits your play style, blah, blah, blah. But in general, I was having a good time playing it. It's the loop that I have a hard time with. But if I'm having a good time playing the game, then that shouldn't be that much of an issue. The other big thing, as far as them being long boss battles, I prefer to play games that I can just like stop at any moment.
Yeah.
And I mean, if I'm playing single player, I'm pretty sure I still could just, go back to the home screen and it would pause the thing. I haven't tried, but I would assume so. Multiplayer, obviously not. But that's going to be a make it or break it for me. I'm pretty sure is like, can I pause these and pick it back up later and play 20 minutes at a time? Or is it always going to have to be, I've committed to an hour ish, at this point, unless I'm just better than that and can beat it in 20 minutes, which is possible, So it'll be interesting. I don't know, Captain Fatch, let us know what you decide. I'll be curious to see which way that lands. But
yeah, I mean, we're going to be talking about this game and how much we like it or don't next week. So feel free to report back. I'd say in the comments. We gotta start pulling comments from this.
I'm at least going back, and I mean, I always read them, but I just didn't always respond. But I've been responding better to them, and there haven't been any questions in them generally the past couple weeks. I think because people know that we haven't been pulling them for the next week. So that's it. If you want to, I'll make sure.
I mean, it doesn't necessarily have to be questions. Just
Yeah, that's true.
If it's
updates,
like topics that like somebody added more context to, stuff like that.
Yeah, that's always fun. Zach the Man said, if I had a bunch of friends getting it, I would. But most people I talk to seem like on the fence, and it's one of those games I feel is better with people.
Yeah, agreed. I wouldn't have bought. This would be a game that I would completely ignore if it weren't for the people that I'm playing with. And again, I mean, I'm the type of person where it's like, I don't mind spending $60 on a game that I'll literally only play once, as long as that one time is fun, So like, I'm like, what sold me on this game was like, Ian's like, I'm playing it. Bob's like, I'm playing it. Max is like, I'm playing it, and I'm like, okay, cool. And once Bob was like, yo, we're streaming it on Friday, I was like, okay, that solidifies it. Then I'm buying this game. Like that alone is like, okay, I'm going to buy the game. I don't really have any, like requirement of like, I better get at least 20 hours. Like, I don't really care about that. I mean, maybe I will get 20 hours out of it. Maybe I'll play more. That would be a bonus. But all I need out of it is the 3 to 4 hours that we're going to stream it. And that's it.
I think this is one of the first games that's more like that for me, where I'm just like, I could find out I love it or not. And I'm okay with if I I'll try it for long enough that I feel like I've given it a fair shot, upgraded gear, fought some new monsters and stuff like that. Especially, I don't know what the story mode is like at all, but I know there is kind of a story mode. And that's the thing that probably could get me into it if it's done right. But I mean, I know if it weren't for other people, I wouldn't. Even though I'm probably not going to play with other people very much, I'll try to make myself more than any other game.
We're freaking never going to play this game, just like always. Never playing ever.
Never ever. But I'll try to play this one with other people more. But at the same time, it's like, yeah, I don't know. We'll just see. And there it is, Monster Hunter. Other YouTube community questions that are just regular questions, not Monster Hunter. Cool asked several good questions. Number one, any good Netflix shows? Not that I mind rewatching Friends for the 8th time, literally, but I want something new, preferably funny. Friends is so good. I know it gets a lot of hate these days. But whatever. It's a fun show. I enjoy it. So good Netflix.
I saw something about. I don't remember what the comparison was. It was like Friends or no. Yeah, I don't even feel like getting into this conversation. It's like, the Friends is fine. I'm okay with Friends, but like I don't go out of my way to watch Friends. Friends was like a Nick at Night thing, where it's like, oh, this is on and I'm awake. Yeah, why not? And I have school tomorrow, but I don't care, dude.
I watched none Friends for a long time. Just didn't watch it. We weren't allowed to watch it when I was a kid, other than one time. Again, it's odd because like so many of the jokes would have gone just completely over our heads anyway. Because like it's all like just like innuendo kind of stuff, but very rarely actually like explicitly stated whatever they're talking about. But I remember I was 7, my sister was 9. Context again, we lived in France at the time. We went to Italy, and my grandma was watching. My grandma came with us as well, and my parents went out, and she was just watching us, and Friends was on the TV, and she turned it on, left it on. My parents came back, and they were so mad at her because she was letting us watch Friends when I was 7 and she was 9, and it was in Italian. And so like,
could you even understand
it?
Yeah,
like... not a lick. So I was like, who even cares that we're watching Friends in Italian? I didn't realize at the time, but like, yeah, that was a thing. As far as good recommendations, man, I'm bad at watching shows. I don't know. Also, I know
since when I'm the one that's bad at watching shows.
Oh, I'm much better than you, but like, I don't watch shows by myself all that much. But as far as funny shows, I don't know what all's on your Netflix, because I know it's different from our Netflix. But if you haven't watched Bob's Burgers, it's so good. I don't know how you feel about animated shows in general, but like as far as a funny show, it's like, I don't know, it's great. And that's the only one that like, and then other obvious ones like The Office, Parks and Rec, Brooklyn Nine-Nine, and so on. Yeah, those are my like off the top of my head recommendations, because they are funny. And The Good Place. There it is. Is Jamal an exclusively male name in America? In Arabic, or it's an Arabic word meaning beauty, and is a unisex name here.
I think it's just a male thing.
I would say so.
I don't think I've ever met a female Jamal before.
The other funny thing with this is like, it is funny. I haven't
met that many male Jamals either. I think I know one Jamal.
I remember when we moved to the States, and I met somebody named Grace and someone named Faith, and like different, and like Mercedes, and like different words that are names when they're names, and you're used to them being names. But it's funny, like coming from a context where they're just words that like you're used to hearing them as the part of speech or whatever, and then eventually you hear them as a name. And so it's funny with these, like thinking about names as well, where like, if what's a good,
like if we knew what the word meant.
Because I remember I went to China one time, and the people, like some of the kids there that we were talking to were telling us their names, and they were like, yeah, my name is Panda and my name is Spider. And I was like, oh, that's so weird. But at the same time, it's like, no, it's not. We've got names. It's the same over here, just a little different. You know what I mean? So it's funny, and how like
it is like how I was talking, because me, Mega Man, and Lee were streaming Smash Brothers. And Mega Man was talking about like what they call sweet potatoes in New Zealand. And the way that he would talk about it before was just like, this is what they're called. Like they're called this here. We don't call them sweet potatoes. And how that like got like brought up was that he was saying that his son says sweet potatoes, and that's like very strange to him, because he's like, we don't call them that. And then he like brought up with it, because I was like, sometimes I just half listen. I'm like, I hear what you're saying, but I'm not hearing every single detail. So he said what the word was before, but it didn't click in my head to be like, oh no, that's a different language. And then he said it yesterday, or when we were streaming Smash Brothers, and I was like, hold on, is there another language in New Zealand? He's like, yeah, it's Maori, or I don't know how to pronounce it.
Maori.
And, yeah,
something like that.
And I was like, Google Translate it, and it was like, oh yeah, that's what it is. And I was like, okay, so like, it's like, no, he wasn't like, it's not like called something different. It's the same thing. It's just in the national language.
Yeah,
I'm like,
that's so funny. Yeah. So to answer the question, yeah, I think Jamal's pretty much just a male name here, but like, I mean, considering its meaning, like, might as well be both. But come on over here and start it, How do you feel about pineapple pizza? I used to act all grossed out about it when I was like 16, but then I tried it and it's not bad, but there are so many better options. I would never order it.
That's where I'm at. Like, I'm not necessarily grossed out by it. I'll joke, like, if I see a friend order it, I'll jokingly tell them they're sinning. But like, all in all, I don't care, dude. Like, put on your pizza what you want to put on your pizza. I'm probably not ordering it, but like,
oh no, I definitely thought it was.
It's
same
not
thing.
like Bob was talking about, what did he say? He put peanut butter in, and then we were like, is it crunchy or smooth peanut butter? And he wouldn't answer the question. And it was like very strict, because like, if it was like smooth peanut butter, I was like, okay, that could have been like a peanut sauce situation or whatever, which is like, that's one thing. But like crunchy peanut butter, like, that changes it. It's a different thing at that point.
I'll tell you something that I put peanut butter on one time, and I was like, this should not be good. Actually, it was two things that went on it that shouldn't have been good, but it surprisingly was. In college, we made some hot dogs. And my friend and I were like, what things can we put on here that's like, would be weird, but maybe would be good. And so we put on peanut butter and horseradish spread. And there's no reason that should be a good combination, but it was great. As long as you like those things. It was more like a peanut sauce at that point. But even I did it later with crunchy peanut butter, same thing, still great. No clue. I don't understand it, but in any case, pineapple pizza thing. Yeah, I thought it was a gross idea up until I came to college and tried it for the first time ever. And yeah, it's good. It depends on what it's with, obviously, but like, I think the Hawaiian is the classic, pineapple and ham or something like that. That's a good combo.
Is like kind of problematic that they call it that.
yeah, I could definitely see that.
Because it's a Canadian, like, they made it in Canada. And it's like, pineapples are Hawaiian, right?
I guess I was thinking, right? like a pig spit, like the what's that called? You know what I'm talking about? Like a roasted pig, where it's like spinning that, like at a luau or something like that. That's kind of what was going on in my brain.
Still kind of problematic.
Right, yeah.
I'm going to be honest with you.
Not wrong. But yeah, that said, it's not the first kind of thing I would order, but I also very much don't have a problem with it. But it depends on what it's with. If there's pineapple and also onions on the same, like that, I haven't tried that, but I can't imagine that those would go super well together. So it just kind of depends on what the combo's going on. And lastly, also, the next batch of free PlayStation games are now available. Make sure you grab them. I can't, but thank you.
I mean, sure you
good
can.
Reminder.
You can.
Yeah. I've got them as much as I've got any other PlayStation game right now,
Yeah, but
or something.
In the event that you stumble on a PlayStation,
can you just make a profile and
you can literally just make a profile with these games specific, not PlayStation Plus, but the games that they're just straight up giving away.
Interesting.
All you need is a profile.
That's actually not a bad idea then. Probably won't get around to doing it because whatever, but I'll think about it. Lower Legend asked, and who was it? James Fenlon commented on this. What's the launch game for the Switch Pro if it's not Breath of the Wild 2? James Fenlon said Breath of the Wild 3. just skip it, But yeah, launch game.
Arceus.
Man, that would be rough. So I stand by. I say yes because
if it comes out this year, if the Switch Pro comes out this year, I don't know. If it comes out next year, Arceus.
Mm-hmm. I think it's something that has not been. Oh, whoa. Okay.
But even if I doubt it'll be exclusive. Yeah, I doubt.
Okay, exactly. Then that's totally fine. Yeah.
Because I don't think Breath of the Wild 2 is going to be exclusive.
I don't think so either. Yeah. That's what I was gonna say. Is I don't
Any
think
game that they showcased before the Switch Pro came out, there's no way
Yeah.
that they're going to make it exclusive.
100%.
Like,
Yes.
Prime 4 is coming out on Switch.
Yeah.
But
1000%. So okay, yeah. So we're in agreement there. But yeah, if it's not Breath of the Wild 2, so if it comes out holiday this year, and otherwise, I mean, if it's not Breath of the Wild 2, I think it's something. If it's not Breath of the Wild 2, Legends Arceus, then it's something we haven't seen yet, is my guess. And I could that feels plausible to me, not necessarily likely. Like, I think Breath of the Wild 2 is a lot more likely. But it's plausible that they would be like, bam, brand new game and also brand new console, like, announced at the same time.
Yeah.
Breath of the Wild 2.
But also, I don't know about that.
No, I think Breath of the Wild 2 is the most likely.
I think what's most likely is they're like, oh, and here's a couple other games that are coming out that just so happen to be optimized for Switch Pro or whatever they call it.
Yeah.
I don't think, unless they launch it with exclusives, they're going to be like, here's launch titles or whatever. I don't think Breath of the Wild 2 is going to be exclusive, so I don't really put it in that category. I think that to some degree, they're like, okay, yeah, let's hold this game until this new platform comes out, or let's push it forward so that, like, it can. But for the most part, I think that they just release whatever game is ready for it and would align with it marketing wise. I don't think that they do stuff specifically for that reason. You know, they're not like, oh man, we're making this Switch Pro. It's less like developing a console where it's like, oh, we made Wii Sports and Wii together. I don't think they do that with launch lineups. Like,
right. Yeah.
So especially for like revision sort of deals for consoles.
I agree. Ian Boast, do you think there will be an Indie World presentation in April?
When was the last Indie World?
It's been kind of, I think December was the last one. And if we're going by precedent, which we're not, but if we're going by no, maybe the last one is Indie World presentation.
I feel like we had
actually
one sort of.
Maybe we had one in February. Oh yeah, because I predicted it, I think. We're gonna look it up.
Yeah, if we had it in February, I don't know about April. But
we finna find out. All right, we had Super Indie World. No, it was since December. So yeah, I mean, I could see one happening kind of at any point. Those seem to be a little bit random, but the precedent, quote unquote, would be for we had one March 17th of last year, but also we're not basing anything off 2020 because 2020 was crazy. But we did have one March 20th the year before that. So like last week was a pretty consistent year if there is precedent, and if not, it's just whenever it's going to happen, you know. But yeah, I wouldn't be surprised to have one soon.
Yeah, I wouldn't be shocked.
All right, and then questions from Twitter. Just one. Duncan catches in. What's the oldest video game you guys ever played? Do you think you would play it again today, given the opportunity?
Pong.
Honestly, I think I've played Pong. If not, like Frogger or something.
How have you not played Pong?
I mean, I haven't played it on original hardware. That's for sure. You know, or anything like that. Whereas I don't know if that many people in the world have played it on original. I've played some version of Pong at some point for sure. The one that I like most specifically can think of is, I think, Frogger. But the thing about this question that's interesting was
it's also like adventure, but Pong is the oldest one for sure.
When, as far as like, do you think you'd play it again today, given the opportunity? When I think like I'm gonna play a game, it's less like, I mean, pretty much any game from that era, yeah, sure, because it'll take 10 minutes to play it again, as opposed to like, I'm playing Bravely Default. That doesn't mean like I'm gonna sit down and play 10 minutes of Bravely Default. It means
what are we playing this week on Directly to You is not going to be, I've been playing Pong.
Exactly. So good question. Interesting. Yeah, I think Frogger. But also, I mean, Super Mario,
the oldest game
Super Mario Bros, you know,
is Wii
Donkey
Sports.
Kong, whatever.
What is it like? That's probably. I mean, logic dictates that at least one person.
Yeah, 100%. I mean,
that is the case for them.
Especially,
let us know in the comments that the first game you ever played was a Wii game.
Especially the Wii. I could see that happening where like it's somebody who just like a grandparent or something who never played any games at all. And then that's the first one they played was something on the Wii.
Somebody is like, I'm 35 and the first game I ever played was on Wii. Like,
actually, this would be an interesting challenge to see. Okay, if you're still listening to this point, let us know in the comments. Yes, yeah. Like what's the latest? If you're listening to this podcast, you've probably played games pretty early on in your life, so like that's not a good sample.
So like not. I mean, I think that's the wrong way to position it. Like not like what's the latest. Like how old were you when you played your first video game?
Yeah. There you go. That's yeah, interesting.
I'm guessing nobody was over 15 in the comments.
Yeah,
that's my guess.
I would agree. But we'll see. All right, now questions from Discord. 2 of these are ones from a couple weeks ago that I forgot to grab at the time, and then I grabbed them now. Multi said, when was the last time you guys played a game with someone used a single Joy-Con? I have 2 answers. And they are the following. Number 1, Bravely Default has a one-handed option, and so that's like that or like
I mean Pokemon Let's Go.
So that kind of thing. Exactly.
I just assumed that he was talking about multiplayer.
Yeah.
Multiplayer.
So that's the one side, and then the other side.
Snipper clips with my niece in the car like 2 years ago.
Oh yeah, that is okay. Actually, then that's not that long ago. I think Ashley and I played that like sometime last year.
I think you can use the Pro controller for snipper clips, but
can you? Okay. I feel like we might have played it with the Joy-Cons. If it's not that, because I hadn't thought of snipper clips. It's probably like 2 years ago. I played Smash at my friend's house, and his daughter played, and she uses just one little sideways one.
There's Pokemon Let's Go too. So like,
yeah, exactly. But so it's very few and far between for sure. But Aussie57 asked, console or PC games?
Console. I hate playing games on a computer.
Obviously, PC games for me.
Clearly.
It's
not true.
Very unsuccessful. Yeah. Not even a joke. I don't know. Yeah, very console. It's just a lie is all it is. So maybe jokes are just funny lies.
Are they? I don't know if that's true.
Sometimes they are.
Maybe even a lot of the times, but I don't know if that is like
not exclusively
how it described jokes.
Yeah. It's square's a rectangle is not a square, that kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, Jack,
I make that comparison so much in life, dude. I
had to rethink it after I said the words
at least
out
once
loud.
per month. I think
I had to like play it back in my head and be like, did I say that the right way? I did. And I did, so we're good. Jack Attack said, oh, hey, we should have grabbed this one earlier. What do you guys think about the events of the death of Mario, March 35th, obviously? As of right now, obviously hadn't happened, but it would be interesting to hear your thoughts.
What if they take Mario out of Smash Bros. And put Waluigi in?
What if they do? What if all of they Mandela affect all of the games with Mario and they're all like all Waluigi Kart and Waluigi
I
Golf.
mean, logic dictates that if Luigi, the year Luigi was the worst year for Nintendo financially, the year of Waluigi will be the best year.
Of course, because he's a little taller, and that's what the difference is, right?
Sure, that's the logic.
Yeah, okay, sure.
That I was going with.
Yeah. So we already kind of talked about that. So good job asking topical questions.
Nice.
Aussie57 once again says, AJ and Parker, if not content creators, what would you be doing? And also, how did you two meet?
I don't know.
I like this question because it reminds me, like, because I feel like a lot of regulars are aware of this. I guess. But it's fun because, like, it's people that haven't been around too long, I would guess, because we just haven't talked about this in a long time.
I think Ozzy found us from Twitch.
Nice.
But I could be wrong.
Good stuff.
But yeah, marketing of some sort, probably. If I'm like literally the same person, like if all my life experiences are the same, but for some reason content's not an option, marketing of some sort.
I I mean, I'm not a full-time content creator, so that answers that. But like,
I guess like what would you do with the time? Like,
yeah,
instead,
probably more music stuff of some variety,
which is still content, kind of, but like,
oh, that's true. Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't call it a content creator, but
yeah.
So there it is. And how do we meet? I pestered AJ for years and I said,
he did. No,
talk to me.
He DM'd me. No, you emailed. Actually,
I did. I emailed you when I had the other podcast and was like, "Hey, you want to be a guest on?" Actually, no. Before that was.
Well, you want a giveaway thing?
I did. I want to give away.
You want to give away?
You said the best comment on whatever this video is, I'll give this code, and I wrote a great comment. It was the greatest ever.
You did indeed. It's true. It was the greatest one in that video. That one's true.
And then got your email from that and reached out to see if you wanted to be a guest on the podcast. And you said yes. And then we stopped doing that podcast. And then, at some point,
you
offered to help.
DM'd me. Yeah, you DM'd me talking about the podcast because the podcast was like not regular at all when we first started doing it. And then Parker was doing the podcast, and I was like, "Yo, you want to do like content?" And then Parker was like, "I don't think I'll be good at that." And I was like, "Anyway, so like content." And here we are.
And then we did it.
It's true. So that answers Mega Man's question halfway. Me. I'm what made Parker become a content creator.
There is, I mean, yeah, for sure. There's an element of like, even a couple of years ago, I remember like talking to Mitch about Nintendo things or whatever. And like, we always have a good time talking about it, but he had less of a vested interest for sure. Where it was mostly me talking his ear off and him being like, "Oh yeah, interesting. I didn't know that. Interesting. I didn't know that." And I'm like,
very similar.
Sorry.
As far as like fanatixfour and all that stuff, where it's like, that was like lunch table conversations with Logan and the other friends that were supposed to be the other two, it's like that whole thing of like, just like being like, "Did you know that Pokemon is the biggest media franchise in the world?" Man, I could make videos about that, like seeing like game theory videos and like normal like Peanut Butter Gamer and all those people. It's like, I can do that. So I did it.
Then you did it. Yeah. And then, for me, I like talking about this stuff. I think, the podcast was especially alluring because it's just talking about it. And I just didn't have any experience making videos specifically, but but then now I do, a little bit. Not this week. This week's was we talked about that beforehand.
I mean, it's kind of hard to say a little bit. You've been doing it for over a year at this point.
True. Well, I was gonna say I just meant because this week was the I used a new software.
New software
Man, it's so annoying. I'm gonna see if I can like switch the keyboard shortcuts around so that
I would be shocked if you can't.
I would imagine I could. The thing that annoyed me the most was on Premiere and Pro Tools, they have the same scroll modifiers or whatever, where like one, I think Shift scrolls left to right, and then Command scroll zooms in and out. But then on or something like that,
you have to press a button to scroll, like to scroll through Premiere. I just scroll.
I'm using like I'm using a mouse.
Yeah, I'm using a mouse too. Well, I'm not using. Okay, I got you. I'm using a Magic Mouse. So
yeah, there you go. Yeah, so I'm just using the little like scroll.
By the
wheel.
way, I need to buy. I'm gonna buy a freaking trackpad. I keep forgetting to do that. I keep like having random realizations of like, man, I really hate this freaking Magic Mouse. I need to buy a trackpad. And then I'm like doing something or whatever, and it's like I can't buy it right now for whatever reason. I just need to freaking do it.
So, but yeah, that was. I've got a little scroll bar. And the modifiers are not only different in DaVinci Resolve, but also there's an additional one for zoom in and out, like to make a track larger or smaller. Zoom up or whatever. Long story short, I just kept getting lost because like by the end, I got fairly good at doing the right ones, but every once in a while I hit the wrong thing and you zoom all the way to the wrong spot. Like, yeah. So That was a pain.
I
but,
think editing with a trackpad is like the best.
That's interesting. I wouldn't have thought that.
I mean,
but...
a mouse is fine because it's like you can literally do everything on the one hand. Like you don't have to do any of the like keyboard shortcuts to pan like left and right, to zoom in and out, to go up and down. It's all just with your fingers.
Trackpads. So, but yeah, that's content creator questions. Last question. Grimhain asks, will Parker play Monster Hunter Rise with us?
No.
Yes. We'll find sometime. Well, I won't today, if that's what you're talking about.
But... Not today. It's not. I mean, it's freaking. It's too soon for me. I mean, I mean, we're going to get done sooner than I would have thought. I thought I was going to freaking had to rush and be like, oh shoot, all right, it's time for a stream. But like, luckily, Bob streams late. Well, around when I stream, we both have the same type of schedule, so I'll probably be able to like render out directly to you before the stream even starts. So
look at that. Nice. Man, render times, that's such a difference.
I know, dude. I mean, I didn't really experience that with regular videos, because regular videos rendered out I mean, it wasn't like the fastest thing in the world, but it was like 20 minutes or whatever. Now I can render out a regular video in like 3. And then render out directly to you in like 20 minutes. So it's like, it's directly to you is the biggest buff though, because directly to you used to take like 3 hours. And now it's like now it's like 20 minutes.
Man. And that's it. But yeah, to answer that question more specifically, let's get one time on the books at least for playing Monster Hunter Rise, because I would like to. I'll start playing this weekend, kind of get something going on. Nice.
You'll probably be further than ahead to me, because I would probably only play. Here's the thing. The thing is, like, I'll probably, depending on, I mean, I'd assume that when we're playing it, Max is probably going to play in that time. But so if that's the case, then I'll have no other reason than to play, you know, because like usually a game like this that like Max is into, me and Max would play it, you know, so be like, but now that's going to be the same thing, it's like we might as well just do that at the same time, play with Max and play with you.
I could see if Mitch would want to come over too, and then he could be here, and like, well, I guess if Max is on, then he's kind of fulfilling that role of guidance and things. So maybe not, but
I mean, Mitch can still play if he wanted to play.
He could indeed. What a time. But you know, guys, you can also answer that question in the comments down below, which the question is, how old were you when you played your first game? And what was it? Let us know.
Let us know.
That's it. We did the whole thing. What a podcast.
I mean, I don't know what the stipulation is. Like,
I don't know, but we'll grab whoever wins on one end or another. I'm not sure which that's going to be.
We'll bring up like who is the youngest and who is the oldest. I think that would be interesting.
For that next week.
And then I don't know, like depending on the amount of answers that we get, we'll average.
Yep. So there it is. Good stuff, y'all.
Thanks for watching. Do all the things, like, comment, subscribe. If you listen on podcast services, still probably subscribe to the directly YouTube channel, because YouTube puts things behind a wall that says if you don't have this many subscribers in this many hours, which we have more than enough hours at this point, we just need more subscribers. You can't do stuff. But once we get the amount of subscribers we need, we'll be able to do stuff. And we're not that far, all things considered.
No, we're pretty close.
So
how close?
Thank you.
But
thank you. I don't know. We got like 100 and something left to get.
Yeah, like 120 or so. I don't know.
I think it's more. It's like 170.
173.
There it is.
There it is.
I'm a math man. All right. Goodbye.
Bye.